Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's audio, ma'am.
Somebody please tell me, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Is my speaker switched off? I can't hear anybody.
Yes, ma'am. We can
Okay,
hear it.
okay. Thank you. I had switched off my speaker.
Ma'am. ஸ்கூல்ல வந்து டீச்சரா வேலை பார்க்கும்போது ஒரு இந்த ஸ்கூல்ல வேலை சேகரன் ஆத்மா ஸ்கூல்ல வேலை
Dear friends, welcome to the second day of this webinar where we have a comprehensive revision of all the topics in English literature. I'm doing this to help especially those people who are preparing for Maharashtra set that is coming up. But it will also help students who are preparing for NTA NET and other exams, including GATE. I'm just waiting for more participants. We have only 20 participants now, till now. We had a quiz yesterday, and many of you did that. I will give you more quizzes in the coming days, for free, of course. But if you want more than that, a daily quiz every day, plus 15,000 questions and answers that are very useful. It is not easy to get that kind of practice. That kind of tremendous practice will get you ready for many exams. So if you want that, you can join our Rapid Fire Ultimate program. Many of you are my students in the online course hosted by Tess in Udemy. Some of you may not know about it. This is a video course which you can watch at any time, how many ever times you want throughout your life. In this video course, I have given overview of periods and authors briefly, and there are detailed overviews of many of the major authors, and there are even more detailed explanations on classic texts, the classics. I will be making more videos in the coming months and years. It will help you prepare for any exam you're preparing for now. But more than that, it is a lifetime asset, and it's like an online library. When you become teachers or when you do anything at all in English literature in future, this will help you. Today, there is a Christmas offer going on for the Udemy course. And the course costs 12,000 rupees, but right now it is only 5,000, which is an unbelievable big discount. And you can take the course right now if you want. I'm not trying to sell my products here. I'm just giving you information in case it will help somebody. Because all our work has been done very seriously with a lot of hard work of not only me, but a lot of people. And I have been working on all this material for the past 20 years. This webinar that I'm conducting is also based on those 20 years. As you know, it is not easy to get information on many of these authors and even literatures easily. To get a comprehensive overview of Caribbean literature or Australian literature is not easy. You don't get it anywhere. So I have been blessed by God 20 years ago, and I got this idea to do this, and I have been able to do this with your help, with your support, and also the help and support of my team at TESS. I have a very, very good team at TESS. Even though I keep scolding them and you keep complaining, all of us know that they do a lot of awesome work in these COVID times also. Even when they are working from home, they are trying to support us in every way. and they are dedicated to the work at TESS. Each and every one of them. I'm so glad I have that team to support me. And all my students, former and present, including all of you, you've given us a lot of trust and support and encouragement. Thank you all once again for believing in us, for coming to us, for appreciating the work that we do. I say this from the heart because I'm so deeply indebted to you. You have made me what I am, and that is why when I do programs like this, I don't want to stop with just a lecture. I want to give material. I want to give rapid fire or whatever I can. Yes, Hemlata, I see your message. I will ask my office staff to take the YouTube link and post it in the group immediately. Don't worry. We have 44 participants now. Yeah. I will share the handout. I see your message. I will share the handout tomorrow or the day after. I know that I inspire you and you benefit from my work, Aishwarya, but I'm saying this because it is a mutual thing. It is not just that you are benefiting. I have to say this, that I am also benefiting from you a lot. It's not the money. It is the inspiration to work more. It is the learning that you also give me. It's fabulous. Without so many people trusting me and coming to me to work together, I wouldn't have studied so much. I'm not switching on the video so that you will not see how touched I am. 53 people, come soon so that the participants will be saved from my sentiments. If the others take time to come, I will pour my sentiments on you. I have half a mind to ask you a few questions. From yesterday, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
You are.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me, who is the author of the poem, The Waterfall? Where the flow of a waterfall is compared to the soul. The flow of the waterfall is compared to the journey of the soul. That is a conceit. That's a metaphysical conceit. This man also wrote The Retreat, which inspired the Immortality Ode. Now you know.
Henry Vaughan.
Correct. Henry Vaughan. Henry Vaughan has written Silex Scintillans, or the Flashing Flint, Stone Heart, remember? The Retreat, The Waterfall. What is Derek Walcott's A Far Cry from Africa set against? Derek Walcott's A Far Cry from Africa is set against what event? Same as A Grain of Wheat, The River Between.
Mau Mau uprising.
Mau Mau Rebellion. Mau Mau Rebellion of Kenya. Derek Walcott is from St. Lucia in the Caribbean islands. Which is his most famous play? Derek Walcott's most famous play?
Dream on
Dream
Dream on Monkey
on
Mountain.
Monkey.
Correct. The Caribbean writer Claude McKay belonged to which movement? The Caribbean writer Claude McKay.
Harlem Renaissance.
Harlem Renaissance is correct. Harlem Renaissance. Do you know the name of the protagonist in the novel In the Castle of My Skin?
G. Character only alphabet.
By George Lamming.
G.
G, correct. G. G. Which is the Booker Prize winning novel of V.S. Naipaul?
In a free state.
In a Free State is correct. In a Free State. In which novel of V.S. Naipaul, with the protagonist Salim, which is the novel by V.S. Naipaul with the protagonist Salim living in an unnamed African country?
Bend in the river.
A Bend in the River, correct. Out of syllabus question that I didn't discuss. Which novel or novels by V.S. Naipaul has the character Willie Somerset Chandran? Magic Seeds. Before that came Half a Life. Half a Life sequel is Magic Seeds. Okay. Which is the coming of age novel by Jamaica Kincaid? Coming of age novel by Jamaica Kincaid. Annie John. I don't think I mentioned it. Doesn't matter. It won't be asked in Maharashtra set, I think. Justice Datta Chowdhury and Lionel Trisausen are characters in
Shadow Lines.
Friends.
Shadow Lines.
The Shadow Lines. Justice Datta Chowdhury and Lionel Trisausen are friends. These two families become friends. Which is the ethnographic text by Amitav Ghosh set in Egypt?
Antique lamp.
In an antique land. In an antique land. Who is the Nobel Prize winning writer from Egypt?
Najib
Mahfouz. Najib Mahfouz. Which novel by Amitav Ghosh is subtitled A Novel of Fevers, Delirium and Discovery?
The Circle of Reason.
A novel of fevers. So,
Calcutta chromosome.
Calcutta chromosome. Fevers, because it's about malaria. The Calcutta chromosome. Which novel by Amitav Ghosh is set against the Morij-Jhapi massacre?
Hungry Tide.
The Hungry Tide. Ibis in Ibis trilogy is a
Opium novel.
Ibis in Ibis trilogy is a
Against opium trade.
is a ship.
Meaning is ship.
It's a ship. Then which novel by Vikram Seth is set in California?
Golden Gate.
The Golden Gate. Which novel is set in London?
Equal music.
Correct. An Equal Music.
Equal music.
An Equal Music. Sister of My Heart and The Vine of Desire are novels by
Chitra Banerjee.
Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. In which year did Arundhati Roy win Booker Prize?
1997.
1997. Jeet Tayal, I introduced you to Jeet Tayal, who wrote Narcopolis. It is about narcotics in a city. His book, These Errors Are Correct, won the Sahitya Academy Award. Do you know what is that book? Is it a play? Is it non-fiction? Is it a poetry collection, or is it a novel? These errors are correct.
Non-fiction?
No, poetry collection. It is a poetry collection. Who is the man who wrote Bombay Meri Jaan? Writings on Mumbai?
Manohar Mangol.
No.
Yesterday you said this.
Yeah. Jerry Pinto. Jerry Pinto. Who is the author of the short story collection Unaccustomed Earth?
Jhumpa Lahiri.
Jhumpa Lahiri. Whose first novel is Hullabaloo in the Guava Orchard?
Kiran Desai.
Kiran Desai. Wen Jiabo. Which novel refers to Wen Jiabo? White Tiger. Wen Jiabo, the Chinese Prime Minister. He is the one to whom Balram is writing his letters. Now tell me, in which year did Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel come?
1681.
1681. The very next year came two satires. Which are they?
Macflecknoe
Meadow
and
and
Meadow.
Battle McFlecknoe.
In the same year, 1682, he wrote a religious work. Which work?
Religio
Religio
Laici.
Religio Laici was based on
Anglicanism.
yeah, Anglicanism, and I also meant Religio Medici
Yeah, based
by Thomas Brown.
Browns.
Okay. Yes. Let me now go on to the next topic. We have 69 participants. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't that
Yes.
beautiful? Welcome to day 2. Do you feel like putting your feet in this water?
Yes.
Okay. Ta-dang! The first writer we'll talk about is ta-dang! Ada Miller. 1915 to 2005. Are you familiar with Ada Miller?
Death of a Salesman.
Yesterday we did not talk about any American writer. Today we'll talk about a few. Ada Miller's works, please tell me.
Death of
Death of a Salesman, All
Death
My
of a
Sons.
Salesman, All My Sons.
Sons.
What was the year of Death of a Salesman? Published in which year?
40.
Same year as 1984.
1949.
1949. Death of a Salesman and 1984 novel were both from 1949. All My Sons came 2 years before that. Do you know any other work by Ada Miller?
The Crucible.
Correct. The Crucible. Do you know any other work?
The View from the Bridge.
A View from the Bridge. Very good. A View from the Bridge. The first novel by Ada Miller was The Man Who Had All the Luck, followed by All My Sons, then Death of a Salesman, then the crucible, then a view from the bridge. You have said all that I have given here. There are more after the fall, 1964 after the fall. Now, which period did he write about? He is known as a playwright of the which period?
Capitalist America.
American Dream.
20th century, ma'am.
All your answers are correct, but if you know Arthur Miller very, very well, that is not what you will say. All your answers are correct. He is a poet. He's a writer of the.
McCarthyism.
That is also correct. He's a writer of the Great
Death of a salesman.
He's a writer of the Great Depression era. He wrote about the Great Depression. Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman is a classic example of depression literature. And Depression era was in 1930s. It started in 1929 when there was a stock market crash. And there was the progressive unemployment of the people. Lots of people became unemployed because of the stock market crash. There was inflation, money got devalued, and people became disoriented. In literature, people turned to drinking and drugs and suicide also. Other important writers of the Depression era are Tennessee Williams, William Faulkner. All these people have written about very depressing characters. And Death of a Salesman is about Willie Loman, the story of Willie Loman, who has his wife, Linda, and two sons, Biff and Happy. They are living away from the family, as it is usual in America. Willie has a job as a traveling salesman. And on the day we see him in the play, he has lost his job. He never thought he'll lose his job because his employer was his godson. He had named him, nevertheless, he lost his job. And he does not want to face that reality. He does not want his family to know it. And he's hoping that somehow if he dies, his insurance money the family will get. All these years, they were paying money in installments to buy the house and the car and the gadgets in the house. And at this time, they have kind of stopped paying the money because the installments have been fulfilled. But he has lost his job. And his eldest son, Biff, that is the person he dotes on. He had hoped that Biff would go to university, but he did not because he flunked math. He failed in maths. And Biff did not get a good job. Whatever jobs he is getting, he is losing because he's a kleptomaniac, because he steals uncontrollably from the office where he works. So on this day, Biff and Happy are visiting their parents, and Willie Loman is little out of his mind. He is in the West, people who are lonely and who have nobody to talk to, they talk to themselves a lot. They begin to hallucinate a lot. This is a peculiarity of the West. In the East, in India, etc., we don't face this problem because there are too many people. Somebody or the other will be there to talk to us all the time. We have our big families to support us, even though they can also be very intrusive. The families are a huge support. We are never lonely. But Willie Loman is lonely and he's talking to himself. He is hallucinating that he's talking to his brother Ben, who is no more. His brother Ben used to be in Alaska and he used to be a diamond merchant there. And he had asked Willie to join him, but Willie never went there. He wanted to stay in Boston and, in America. And he wanted his sons to be well liked by everybody. But all his dreams failed. There is a little tragedy in Biff's life. When Biff was a younger boy, the day he flunked math, he had gone to tell his father this sad news. He had been lazy. His friend had been asking him to practice maths, but he didn't do it. And finally, he failed in the subject. And he went to his father's hotel room to tell him this. Remember, he's a traveling salesman. he found that his father is with some other woman. And that devastated this boy. For a young boy, this kind of revelation about his parent is an unforgettable thing. And after that, Biff was never able to come to terms with his life. He is a failure. And Willy Loman is not able to accept the fact that not only he himself is a failure, but his son is also a failure. And on that day, when the sons come home, Willy Loman is hoping that something or the other Biff will do and make some money. And Biff and Happy have a plan to borrow some money from Biff's former employer and start a sports goods shop. But nothing works out. And that day at the end, when Willy realizes that nothing is going to happen good in their life, he takes his car and goes out and crashes his car deliberately, it seems. We don't know, because all that happens offline. We are led to understand that he committed suicide that way. Suddenly, after he leaves the house, we only see the family, he see his wife after the funeral in the requiem. There is no melodrama. We don't see his death. We don't see the family being affected by it or anything. And this is a play that shows the failure of the American dream. Everybody has to dream. The dream is what America is. Willy's neighbor, Charlie, says a very famous statement: a salesman is got to dream. That is a very important statement in the play that shows that a dream is necessary. Without dreams, you can't go forward, you can't go on. But a dream is also what makes you disappointed at the end. The American dream was the belief that America had in itself, the belief that we will be successful, we will be rich, we will be able to achieve whatever we want. That belief completely failed in this period of the Great Depression. This was the time, as you were suggesting, the time when capitalism was flourishing in America like anything, and the rich people were becoming richer. The poor people like Willy Loman were becoming poorer. And there was lopsided development or unequal development in America at this time. And this is also the period of modernism. All My Sons is also similarly the story of, do you know the protagonist name of All My Sons? Who is the protagonist in All My Sons? Joe Keller. There are two men, Joe Keller and Steve Deaver. They used to be partners. And you know what? Some big consignment they got from the Air Force. And Steve sent the consignment because Joe asked him to do it. Their consignment was there. The order they got was for aircraft parts. And they sent faulty parts, knowing that it is faulty, and it led to the crash of 21 pilots. Steve Deaver is put in prison, but Joe Keller does not take responsibility. He says, I'm not guilty, but actually he was the one who asked Steve to send the consignment, and Joe is hiding from his guilt. In the play, we find that Joe's wife knows about it already, and son also knows about it. Joe's son is fighting in the army, and knowing his father's cowardice and his father's unjust treatment of his partner, his son Larry commits suicide. And when Joe realizes that his own son committed suicide because of him, then he realizes that all the pilots who died because of him were also, in a way, his sons. That is why it says, all my sons. They're all my sons, he realizes. And at the end, like a coward, he also commits suicide. He does not hand himself over to the police. He commits suicide. That is the story of All My Sons. These plays are depicting the values of America at this time, what it means to be American. We should not be cowards. We should be moral. We should have values. We should help each other. That kind of a message is there in these plays. And the Crucible is set against it is set against the backdrop of the Salem witch trials. Somebody's microphone is on. Yeah, I will mute. Salem witch trials means in the 17th century in America, some women were accused of being witches and they were tried, and some of them were killed also. This is the very infamous Salem witch trials. Like somebody was saying, Arthur Miller wrote about the McCarthy era in the 20th century. The McCarthy era is also the time of a certain kind of a witch hunt in a metaphorical sense. There are no witches in the 20th century, but the American government hunted down communists. Joseph McCarthy was a senator in America, and he took the lead in hunting down communists and imprisoning them. Many of them disappeared. Many of them were killed probably. This is the very infamous McCarthy era, where there were anti-communist witch hunts. The Crucible is set against the Salem witch trials in an indirect commentary on, in an indirect criticism of the McCarthy era. Now, Arthur Miller, for writing these kind of plays, was put under trial. He was brought before the Inquisition or the public court, and he was accused of being a communist, and people living in this time had a big trouble from the oppressive government of that time. So that is the Crucible. These are the three major plays of Arthur Miller. After the Fall is a semi-autobiographical play that is also important. For some time, Arthur Miller was married to Marilyn Monroe, who was a sex symbol in Hollywood. She was a very beautiful and talented and sexy actress. And this play, After the Fall, is based on his marriage to Marilyn Monroe. So those are the important plays. Death of a Salesman famously won the Pulitzer Prize. Pulitzer Prize is a prize given only to Americans. So if you get a question like, which of the following won Pulitzer Prize? Don't panic. Many times, listen to me carefully. Many times in the exam, the question is based on not the options, but your knowledge of the options, but on something else. Did you understand? When they give you 4 options and one is the answer, they only want you to know that this one has to be the answer. Even if you don't know anything about these 3, it doesn't matter. If this is the answer, they might want you to know only this. Sometimes you get confused seeing these 3 because you don't know anything about this. You think it's a difficult question, like that. When you study, please study the background of authors and works. Just don't study in a very isolated, what can I say, like the New Critics did. Don't do close reading without knowing the context and background. You should know a little bit more about it. Make it a practice to read the biographies in Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica, or Wikipedia, or some of the Wikipedia entries on authors and works are very, very, very good. Because Wikipedia is written by very good people across the world, and there are other people constantly correcting it and improving it. So there might be some mistakes in Wikipedia here and there, but mostly it is correct and good also, these days especially. So please make it a practice every day to read the biographies, stories of plays, plots, etc., of authors' works. It's very, very important. That will also give you the background. So that is all about our Arthur Miller right now. We have to talk about his contemporaries. Now tell me about his contemporaries. Who are the major contemporaries of Arthur
William
Miller?
Faulkner.
William Faulkner.
Tennessee Williams.
Tennessee Williams is correct.
Eugene O'Neill.
Eugene O'Neill is correct. Then
Ernest Hemingway.
Ernest
Ernest
Hemingway.
Hemingway. Then
Lorraine
John
Hanscom.
Osborne. John Osborne.
you are right in a way, but he is not American. John Osborne is British. We are talking about American contemporaries. Is Emerson a contemporary?
No.
No, Emerson is in the 19th century. Is Walt Whitman a contemporary?
No.
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 No, 19th century.
Yeah. 90. Is Robert Frost a contemporary?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Yeah. Robert Frost is a contemporary.
Right.
Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Huh?
Nathaniel Hawthorne.
No, Nathaniel Hawthorne was also 19th century. 19th century Americans are the transcendentalists like Emerson and Thoreau, their friend Walt Whitman, the anti-transcendentalists like Edgar Allan Poe and Nathaniel Hawthorne. Then there was Emily Dickinson. All these people are 19th century Americans. Later in the century, there is Mark Twain. The American Civil War was from 1861 to 65. After that came the period of realism, at which time Mark Twain also lived. So Emerson and Thoreau, their friend Walt Whitman, their enemies, that means anti-transcendentalists, Hawthorne, Edgar Allan Poe, Melville, Herman Melville. These three are dark romantics of the 19th century. They are against transcendentalism because the transcendentalism is an optimistic school. The dark romantics are very pessimistic. Did you understand? The dark romantics are very pessimistic, and you can switch off your mic when I start speaking because the disturbance will be there in YouTube also otherwise. Once again, the transcendentalists and Whitman are kind of optimistic and positive. The dark romantics are more negative. Emily Dickinson also was their contemporary. And then there was Mark Twain at the end of the century. And after realism of Mark Twain came naturalism in America. Important naturalists are Jack London, who wrote The Call of the Wild and White Fang. We mentioned that yesterday. Theodore Dreiser, who wrote American Tragedy, etc. Eugene O'Neill came immediately after that. He was born at the end of the 19th century, and Eugene O'Neill was a very important playwright in the 20th century. Eugene O'Neill introduced realism on stage in America. The most important stage in America is called Broadway, and Eugene O'Neill introduced realism on stage. He not only introduced realism, he also introduced African-American characters and their dialects in plays like Emperor Jones. He employed expressionism in Emperor Jones, A Hairy Ape, Strange Interlude, etc. He employed the elements of classical Greek tragedy in plays like Morning Becomes Electra. Are you all paying attention? I'm getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Then he employed a criticism of American Dream. He in plays like Long Day's Journey into Night, he employed a criticism of the American Dream. Can you tell me the important plays of Eugene O'Neill once again?
Desire Under the Ems.
Beyond the Horizon.
Desire Under the Ems.
The
Then
Hairy Ape.
The Hairy Ape.
Our Wilderness.
Morning becomes Electra.
Morning Becomes Electra. Then
And
Emperor John.
Emperor Jones.
Beyond the Horizon.
Beyond the Horizon. Very good. Then
Just
Such a long journey into night.
no, not such a long journey. Long day's journey into night. A long day's
Into night.
journey into night.
Anna Christie.
Anna Christie.
Who are
The
afraid of
Hairy
a
Ape.
novel?
Let me tell you this. The Iceman Cometh. That is also a very important play. Let me tell you the stories briefly of a few places. Emperor Jones, as you might know, is about an African American. He kills somebody called Jeff during a game, and he's put in prison in America. From there, he escapes and goes to a Caribbean island. Please switch off your mics. He goes to a Caribbean island where an Englishman named Smithers was already there, exploiting the natives. And our emperor, Brutus Jones, his name is, our Brutus Jones becomes the emperor of that island in Caribbean islands. And the natives are oppressed by Brutus Jones. They are unhappy. They want to rise in rebellion. And Brutus Jones falsely makes them believe that he cannot be killed. Brutus Jones makes them believe that he can be killed only by a silver bullet. And our natives believe that, and Emperor Jones is thinking that he can never be killed. Emperor Jones, the play Emperor Jones begins. The play Emperor Jones begins when the natives are starting to rebel. The natives under Lem are starting to rebel. They are beating a drum called Tom Tom, and they are preparing for battle. And Emperor Jones very confidently runs away into the forest, thinking he knows the way of through the forest. He has food buried in the forest. He had money saved in a foreign account. He will be able to escape easily. And anyway, the natives are thinking he can be killed only by a silver bullet. And then he starts running. This is the first scene of Emperor Jones. In the next 6 scenes, there are 8 scenes altogether. In the next 6 scenes, in every scene, he gets a hallucination. In the first scene, he hallucinates that he is seeing some childlike worms, worm-like creatures. And they are actually his own fears. And then in the next scene, he sees Jeff, the man whom he killed. These are personal memories. And slowly in the later hallucinations, he sees racial memories, collective memories. And he feels very hot inside the forest. He throws off his clothes. He cannot find the food. He loses his way. And from an emperor, he becomes an elemental man. And he finally reaches, in the morning, he reaches somewhere. He is thinking he is out of the forest, but actually he ran one full circle and came back to where he began from. The natives are waiting there to, waiting there to kill him with a silver bullet. They melted some silver coins and they made a bullet with which they killed Brutus Jones. This is a story about human nature, about man, not only black people, but white people also. Any human being, how they bring upon themselves their own disaster. He's like a Kurtz-like character. Kurtz is the character in Heart of Darkness. Then Hairy Ape. Hairy Ape is a story of a white man named Yank or Robert Smith, Bob Smith. Yank is a lower class man, a laborer who works in the furnace of a ship, a transatlantic ocean liner. And he's very happy in his lower class existence. He doesn't have any knowledge or anything. He doesn't have class consciousness also. He's happy. But one day, the ship owner's daughter, she's a rich girl, Milfred. She comes down to the stoke hold where Yank and his companions are working. Even though Mildred is a very liberated woman, a free-thinking woman, she appreciates the role of the lower class people in her country and all that. She comes to the stoke hole and sees Yank covered, hairy body and covered with soot and dust and sweat and all that. And she says, oh, what a beast. She says, he calls him a beast. And everybody makes fun of him. And then his class consciousness gets awakened. When his class consciousness is awakened, he realizes that he does not belong anywhere. He wants to belong somewhere. He goes in search of some workers' union called IWW, Industrial Workers of the World. But there also he feels out of place. They just throw him out. He doesn't belong anywhere. And he is angry with the upper class people like never before. And finally, he's going into one rich area in New York and pushing the rich white people who are going to church, etc. And at first, they just say, sorry, thank you, very politely. At first, nothing happens, but at the end, he is put into prison for 3 months. When he comes out of prison, he realizes that I don't belong in this world, because a lower class man does not belong in this world, you know. Later on, we'll talk about Invisible Man, another novel by Ralph Ellison. There in Invisible Man also, you realize that, you know, a black man or a lower class man just does not belong in this world. And Yang feels so terrified by this unbelonging that he goes and opens a gorilla's cage in the zoo, and the gorilla crushes him to death. He embraces death. He dies. It is expressionistic. It is not realistic. You don't believe, what? Will anybody do that? But it is unrealistic. It is expressionistic. It's like a dream. What it means is that Yang cannot belong to this world once he has realized his lower class stature. Iceman Kamath is about a group of villagers. They are all failures. They are all these characters represent the Great Depression. These people have no dreams, you know, nothing to look forward to in life. And all of them are being led by their pipe dreams. Pipe dreams means dreams that will never happen. You know, dreams that just fantasy. Everybody probably knows that this will never happen. And they're all getting together in a saloon, Harry Hope's pub it is. And there they are waiting for their friends to come, Hickey. When Hickey finally comes, he is angry with everybody for having these pipe dreams. And then we realize that all these dreams that these people have are not going to be fulfilled at all. Hickey actually has come after killing his own wife because of her pipe dreams. And then Hickey is taken away by the police. So this is a play about failed people, their lack of hope in life. What are they going to do in life? Where is life taking them? This kind of depressive place. If I tell you a story of Long Day's Journey into Night, or Morning Becomes Electra, or Desire Under the Ems, or Beyond the Horizon, all these plays are like this, very depressing and hopeless people and their lives. That is Eugene O'Neill, a very, very major playwright of that period. The next important playwright we have here is Tennessee Williams. I'm sure every one of you knows Tennessee Williams's Glass Menagerie. Glass Menagerie is a story of how, again, Great Depression in people's lives, how people are failures. They cannot look forward to anything in their life. Everything that life brings them is a disappointment. We have the Wingfield family. The Wingfields are Amanda and her 2 children, Tom and Laura. Tom has escaped from his house and he has become a member of the Merchant Marine or the Merchant Navy. And he did not do his duty towards his mother and sister. His sister is Laura, a cripple. And Laura is very shy. She takes refuge in old records, music records, and also her collection of glass animals. And because of Amanda's memories of a great past that she had before the Civil War, Tom finally brings home his friend to meet Laura. This friend, Jim, had been their schoolmate, and Jim makes Laura realize that she's actually very pretty and good. And then it turns out that Jim is already engaged. So that is a heartbreak for Laura, but she becomes stronger by that incident. And this whole play is narrated by Tom Wingfield later in his memory as a compensation for what he has done to his family. So that is why Tennessee Williams coined the term memory play regarding Glass Menagerie. The next important play by Tennessee Williams is A Streetcar Named Desire. I'm not telling chronologically, that was a 1947 play. A Streetcar Named Desire is also about, if you notice, many of these plays are about Southern aristocratic families who came to a lot of poverty and disillusionment after the Civil War. In this play, A Streetcar Named Desire, we have two sisters, Blanche Du Bois and her sister Stella. They used to be rich girls in the Southern aristocratic family they belonged to before the Civil War. After the Civil War, they lost their property, and Blanche turned to drinking, and she had a broken life. Her husband committed suicide because she discovered him to be homosexual. And she became like a prostitute. She depended on other people for love and money. And now she has come back to Stella. She is growing old and she is going out of her mind. She has come to live with Stella. Stella has been married to the working class man, Stanley Kowalski. And Stanley is a very rough man who is angry with the upper classes and Stella's family. Somewhat like Jimmy Potter is angry with Allison in Look Back in Anger. And Blanche comes home and Stanley Kowalski does not like this. And he teaches Blanche a lesson. Even though Blanche is a broken woman, she has her airs, she has her pretensions. And finally, Stanley Kowalski breaks up her love affair with his friend Mitch. He rapes her one day, and Blanche completely goes mad and she's taken away to a lunatic asylum. That is the very important play, A Streetcar Named Desire. These plays are very symbolic plays, which use a lot of leitmotifs and symbols, and very rich plays. Then Cat on a Hot Tin Roof is another important play by Tennessee Williams. He has also written many other important plays. I don't want to talk about all of them here because, as you know, in set they will ask you about mostly very famous works only. So that is Tennessee Williams, another playwright of the Great Depression. Both of them have written plays about the Great Depression. Then there is another man, Edward Albee. This is a playwright who is associated with the absurd theater. Edward Albee is associated with the theater of the absurd. His two important plays have been prescribed in universities. Edward Albee's Zoo Story and also Who is Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Edward Albee's Zoo Story is about two characters only, Peter and Jack. No. Jack.
Jerry.
Jerry, correct. Jerry. Jerry is a broken man. He's insecure and lonely, and he has nobody to talk to. He is desperate to have something in his life. He is a man who has lost everything in life. Whereas Peter is a middle-class man with a lot of things in life. He has a job, he has a wife, he has 2 children, 2 cats, 2 parakeets. He has a book, he is reading in the park. Jerry comes and sits near him in the park. And Jerry starts talking utter nonsense to Peter. And Peter at first is very polite, but then he wants to escape from Jerry. But Jerry keeps on talking to Peter about Jerry's visit to the zoo, etc. And finally, Peter gets very angry, irritated. Jerry takes out a knife and Peter hits Jerry with the knife. And Jerry lies there bleeding. Peter is shocked because Peter is like you and me. We will never kill a man. We don't know what will happen if we do that. Peter is so terrified at what he has done. But Jerry says, thank you. Escape now. Go away. Thank you for doing this to me. Why Jerry says that is because he's fed up with life. He wanted to end his life. And Peter has only done him a good thing by killing him. So that is the very traumatizing play Zoo story. Like these characters who are desperate in life, who has nothing to turn to in life. That is what you see in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. You can see there George and Martha, a couple who are pretending that they have a son. They get a couple as guests, two people, Nick and Honey. And there is a totally absurd party where George and Martha are accusing each other and insulting Nick and Honey. And finally, we realize how broken they are, how frustrated, how disappointed in life they are. That is Edward Albee. He has also written other plays like Sandbox. American Dream is a play by Edward Albee. Those are also very, very important. Next, we will talk about the novelists who are contemporaries of Arthur Miller. The novelists. William Faulkner. William Faulkner, 1897 to 1962. He, like our Mark Twain, was a writer of the Mississippi region. He wrote about the Mississippi region, and he created a fictional place called Yoknapatawpha. Yoknapatawpha County it is. And the people living there, like Hardy's Wessex, the people living there, things that happen to these people, that is the plot of his novels. Light, do you know the novels of William Faulkner? You tell me.
Sound and the Fury.
Sound and Fury.
Sound and Fury is the most famous. Then
Absalom, Absalom.
Absalom, Absalom. Then your Google is not working? Tell me.
A Rose for Emily.
A Rose for Emily. Good. Then As I Lay Dying, very famous.
Sanctuary.
Light in August. What did you say, Shashi?
Sanctuary.
It was somebody else. Sanctuary, correct. The Hamlet, where Hamlet means village. Then, do you know any other?
The Town. The Town.
The Hamlet, The Town.
The Evening Sun.
The Mansion. That is part of the Snopes trilogy. Snopes trilogy. Okay. So let us talk about William Faulkner. Like in the other playwrights that we talked about, in William Faulkner's novels also, you see very broken, disoriented characters who are suffering from the effects of sin. And he employed modernist techniques like stream of consciousness, mixing up of perspectives, multiple perspectives, breaking up of chronology. These are all techniques used by William Faulkner. The Sound and the Fury is the story of the Compson's family. It is told in 4 parts, and each part is a different style, about a different period. There is no chronological progress. In a nutshell, if I tell you, The Sound and the Fury is about the woman Caddy and her brothers, and her family is remembering her. She was a girl of promiscuity or premature sexuality. When she was very young itself, she used to go around with boys. Finally, she had an illegitimate daughter outside marriage. And there is a retarded boy, Benji, who is like the spirit of Yoknapatawpha, the decadence, the decay in people's lives because of sinfulness, because of capitalism, because of greed. All these sins have led them to decay. The decay of the people and their morality is epitomized in the idiot boy Benji in the novel The Sound and the Fury. The title The Sound and the Fury, as you know, was taken from Macbeth. The title is taken from Macbeth. There are so many other novels, but they are very complicated novels. I don't know if they are prescribed. It will be good if you know, but I'm just moving on. John Steinbeck. John Steinbeck was also a writer of the Great Depression, and he was also a modernist writer. Tell me, what are the works by John Steinbeck?
Grapes of Wrath.
The most famous work is The Grapes of Wrath.
Pigeon feathers.
Huh? Didn't hear you. The Grapes of Wrath is part of the Dust Bowl trilogy. Now, during the time of Great Depression, there was something called the Dust Bowl that happened in southern USA. The Dust Bowl refers to the dust storms that happened in the Oklahoma region, where people were agriculturists. In those places, dust storms happened, leading many people to leave their houses and go to California and other places. Or in dubious battle, Of Mice and Men, The Grapes of Wrath. These are the three major novels of the three novels of the Dust Bowl trilogy. The first novel by John Steinbeck was Cup of Gold. He has also written Tortilla Flat, The Winter of Our Discontent, etc. Not that famous. The Grapes of Wrath is about the Jode family. They are a group of sharecroppers, white people who cultivate a large tract of land along with other people, sharecroppers. And they are leaving their house and dwelling and going to the village of their, going to California, not village of their, going to California in search of jobs. That is the story of The Grapes of Wrath. Of Mice and Men is the story of two farmers. One of them is mentally retarded, George and Lenny. Lenny is mentally retarded. And they have a dream of having their own ranch, but they have no place now. They are wandering because of the Dust Bowl. And finally, George kills Lenny out of love to save him from the trouble. That is the story of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Will you remember that? Are you bored?
No,
So many stories.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
I'm sure half of you are sleeping. At least 10 of you must be sleeping. Are you sure?
No, ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am. No.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me ask you rapid fire in between. Rapid fire is my name for question and answers. Tell me what is the most important play by Elmer Rice. The most important play by Elmer Rice.
The Adding Machine.
The Adding Machine. The Adding Machine is correct. The Adding Machine. Tell me who wrote The Age of Innocence. It was the first novel by a woman to win Pulitzer Prize.
Edith Wharton.
Edith Wharton is correct. To which movement does the Red Badge of Courage belong? Hey. The Red Badge of Courage is by
Hemingway.
Stephen
Crane. The Red Badge of Courage is by Stephen Crane. And the Red Badge of Courage is a naturalist work. Jack London, Theodore Dreiser, Stephen Crane. They are naturalists. Who wrote The Portrait of a Lady, the novel?
Henry James.
Henry James. What is the name of the protagonist?
Isabel Archer.
Isabel Archer. Tell me who wrote the poem Portrait of a Lady? Poem.
James Joyce. No, that is Portrait of an Artist of a Young Man.
T.S. Eliot.
T.S.
T.S. Eliot wrote the poem Portrait of a Lady. Correct. Who wrote Out of a Cradle, Endlessly Rocking?
Whitman.
Walt Whitman. Correct. Walt Whitman. Out of a Cradle, Endlessly Rocking. In which year did Whitman's Leaves of Grass come into being get published?
1855.
1855 is correct. 1855. Okay, let's progress with this. You can switch off your mics for some time. William Carlos Williams was a modernist writer. He was an experimenter. He wrote imagist poetry, the most famous of which is the Red Wheelbarrow. As you know, Ezra Pound was an American at this time who started imagism. William Carlos Williams was an imagist poet who wrote the Red Wheelbarrow. Wallace Stevens was also a modernist writer at this time. His first book of poems is the famous book Harmonium. Harmonium by Wallace Stevens is very famous, the first book of poems. His often prescribed poems are Sunday Morning. I suppose some of you might have studied it. Anecdote of a Jar, The Emperor of Ice Cream, etc. In the poem Sunday Morning, a woman is sitting on Sunday in her house, in the veranda, in the patio. She has not gone to church and she's feeling a little guilty about it. And then somebody is talking to her. A voice is talking to her and telling her that then between them they decide that going to church is not the only way to serve God. You know, God is there in the entire universe, everywhere. Even sitting on your patio and doing nothing is a kind of experience of God. That reminds me, they also serve who only stand and wait. They also serve who only stand and wait. Remember?
John Milton, On His Blindness.
On his blindness.
So that is Wallace Stevens. Sunday Morning, Anecdote of a Jar, of the Jar, The Emperor of Ice Cream. E.E. Cummings, C also should be small. E.E. Cummings was also another modernist experimenter poet. He wrote very brief poems and he experimented with words. He would cut up words in different ways and write poetry without description. He wrote picture poems and imagist poetry. He experimented with form, meter, syntax, punctuation, etc. Robert Frost is also 1874 born, older than Arthur Miller. Robert Frost is from New England. He was born in San Francisco in California, but he bought a farm and settled down in New England. That is in the northeastern part of America. Robert Frost's poems are said to begin with delight and end in wisdom. Have you heard that before? Begin with delight and end in wisdom. Everybody knows that his most important poem, famous poem, is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. He has also written poems like The Road Not Taken. Tell me his important poems.
Purchase.
Purchase, Road Not Taken.
All the Road Not Taken, Purchase, then
Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice. After Apple Picking, then Home Burial.
Purchase.
In all these poems, he writes a lot about nature. He writes about human responsibility, psychology of characters, and so on and so forth. When it comes to poets, especially like Frost, You might be required to know the names of their collections. A Boy's Will is his first collection. So that is about Arthur Miller's contemporaries. Did you enjoy that discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Some people are fluctuating. I don't know if they have a connection problem. I don't know if you're feeling sleepy either. Like yesterday, please feel free to get up and walk about and drink some water or tea or eat something, wash your face so that you will stay alert. The next writer we are talking about is a theorist, Jacques Derrida. Wow, did you expect that?
No, ma'am.
1930 to 2004. Derrida is a what theorist?
Structuralist.
Deconstruction. Post-structuralist who talked about deconstruction. Before post-structuralism, there was structuralism. Who are the important structuralists?
Ferdinand de Saussure.
Ferdinand de Saussure.
Roland Barthes.
Roland Barthes.
Lévi-Strauss.
Claude Lévi-Strauss. Claude Lévi-Strauss. What is structuralism? Structuralism is the understanding that everything can be understood in terms of structures. Everything has a structure. And language is a structure. Your dietary habits are a structure. Your nation is a structure. Your religion has a structure. Your fashion or clothing has a structure. Structure means anything that works as a whole. There are parts, but the parts work together as a whole. And this whole can transform when there are changes happening to it. A structure like language, for example, has individual parts. The words are the individual parts. These individual parts function according to rules. Like that kurta that you wear, pajamas that you wear with it, or a shirt that you wear, trousers that you wear with it. The shirts or kurtas are individual parts. You can change it and wear it with anything you want. The rules are what determine what you should wear with what you should eat with what, how you should speak a language. These rules are what determines the nature of a structure. Structuralist criticism understood literature as a structure, literary texts as structures. When structuralists read literature, they tried to understand the underlying structures of texts. When Claude Lévi-Strauss studied mythology, he tried to understand the underlying structures of myths. The myths of India are apparently, outwardly different from the myths of Africa or the myths of the Eskimos. But if you look at these myths closely, if you take them apart into units and look at them closely, you will find out that there are interrelationships. The same kind of rules are followed. In the morning in India, in Kerala, we eat, say, putta with kadala. Putta, we eat with kadala. Putta is made of rice and coconut. Kadala is chana. In Tamil Nadu, let us say, they eat idli and sambar. In Maharashtra, let us say, they eat poha. They are all very different foods. When Tamilians come to Kerala, they say, we don't like putta and kadala. When Maharashtrians go to Tamil Nadu, they say, we don't like idli and sambar, we want poha. When we go there to Maharashtra, we say, we don't like poha. Ultimately, what are we doing? We are eating carbohydrates with proteins and fats. That is what all of us are doing. Idli is carbohydrates. Protein is also there. Sambar also has protein, dal. And there are vitamins and other minerals in the spices and the vegetables that are added to the sambar. Same with putta and kadala. Putta is carbohydrate, kadala is protein. Poha. Poha is beaten rice. That is carbohydrate. You add some chana dal or something to it and you cook it with some proteins. So, underlying structures all texts have. Will everybody switch off your mics? Yeah. So, what I mean to say is, structuralism said that everything has underlying structures. You know, when you do research, you look at 2 or 3 books, you take 3 books and compare them, study them according to one theory, all 3 books. What are you doing? You are finding out the underlying elements in these books. All these books have this kind of character, all these books show the character doing the same kind of thing. All these books show broken families. All these books show oppressed women. You know, they are underlying structures. Now, structuralism also has some other ideas. Depending on Ferdinand de Saussure's theories of linguistics, structuralism showed that meanings are attributed. There are no inherent meanings. Meanings are always attributed. We are giving meanings to things. You know, as such a meaning, a thing does not have any meaning. For example, a Mangal Sutra. In some parts of India, women wear a black beaded necklace as their Mangal Sutra. In some other parts of India, women wear a thread, yellow thread as their Mangal Sutra. In some other parts of India, like the tribals, for example, women might wear a piece of a tree bark or something like that. Who knows, a piece of ivory as their Mangal Sutra, we don't know. Probably they do. The yellow thread or the black beaded necklace or the piece of ivory has no meaning apart from the context. In that culture, in that context, it gets that meaning. In other contexts, we will not even realize it as anything of any value. So meaning depends on the context, and meaning is attributed by the context. It is we who decide the context. When Shakespeare wrote The Tempest, he did not know about post-colonialism or anything. Today, we attribute colonial meanings to The Tempest. And that context is a new context that Shakespeare did not realize it was there, isn't it? So a book can be read against a theory means a book is read against a new context. The important structuralists were Roland Barthes and Claude Lévi-Strauss. Roland Barthes talked about mythologies first. He talked about how myths are constructed. Then he talked about how author is dead. Remember, in the Romantic period, in the humanist period, the author was considered as the source of meaning. The decentralization of the author began with New Criticism. New Criticism began to disregard or reject the author's intention behind writing a text. New Criticism began to reject the author's intention behind writing a text. What is this called? Everybody wake up. What is this called?
Fallacy.
Intentional fallacy. Rejection of the author's intention behind writing a text is called intentional fallacy. They also rejected the way in which the reader is affected by the text. That is called affective fallacy. The new critics did not believe in the author or did not believe that the author or the reader are important in constructing meaning of the text. The new critics believed that the text is an objective artifact, an autotelic objective thing. The text is, they believed, that contains meaning within itself. New critics believe that the text contains meaning within itself. Against New Criticism, structuralism shows that meaning is not contained within the text, but meaning is contained within the context. The text relationship, the relationship of the text with the context is what creates meaning. That is what is called structuralism. And Roland Barthes says that the moment the text is written, the author is like dead. The author means not the person who wrote the book, you know, the person is the writer. The author means the you know, that aspect of the writer that creates the book. For example, the author of Hamlet is not the author of Midsummer Night's Dream. You know, Shakespeare has a different mentality when he wrote Hamlet and a different mentality when he wrote Midsummer Night's Dream. But it is the same writer who wrote both books. So the death of the author results in the birth of the reader. The reader begins to construct meanings and attribute meanings in the text. The reader becomes a writer. The reader becomes the author of the text. He starts creating the text. And the text is not an individual or original thing. It is a tissue of quotations. Text is intertextual. It contains lots of elements from other texts also. You know, when Jacques Derrida wrote about what, you know, all these writers are looking at me. Oh my God, you see, I see that you know so much about me. Look, see? Everybody, can you see that look? He's looking at me like that. My dear Kalyani Valats, you are saying so much about me. Wow. Laugh. I just said a joke. Oh, I'm sure people have switched off their mics and they are laughing.
Yes, ma'am. We are laughing, ma'am.
Okay. When I say a joke, remember to switch on your mic. Otherwise, it will hurt my ego. Okay. If I don't do this, you will break your forehead falling asleep. You will sit in front of your phone or laptop and then ting, ting. Don't sleep. I have a sleepometer attached to my Zoom. My sleepometer said, do you want to know what it said? I'll tell you now. I got the information here. You don't believe me? See? My sleepometer, my sleepometer said 67 participants have logged in, but only 45 of them are awake.
Ma'am, we are awake.
That new feature is there in Zoom. Seriously. Zoom has added one new feature. You know that even when you switch off your video, the computer can see you through the eye, through the laptop, and the phone can see you. So Zoom has a feature now. So it's called Sleepometer. Okay, I hope everybody is awake. Otherwise, I'll go on talking about structuralism, and out of 67 people will be sleeping. Okay. So what was I talking about? I don't remember.
Issue of quotations.
Wow, correct. Roland Barthes said that the text is a tissue of quotations. He laid the foundations of the theory of intertextuality. Later, who coined the term intertextuality?
Julia Kristeva.
Julia Kristeva.
Kristeva talked about intertextuality. Then Levi-Strauss studied myth. Roland Barthes coined other terms also. Roland Barthes talked about readerly and writerly text. Remember? A readerly text is a text that you just read and go. A writerly text you can't read because it is it's like a modernist text. You have to write the text. That means you have to contribute meanings, attribute meanings. It is like watching TV serial and an art film. Have you watched art films? Tell me the name of one art film you have watched.
The Artist.
The Artist. Then?
Rashomon.
Huh?
Rashomon.
Rashomon. Wow. Okay. By Akira Kurosawa. Then? Art films, which of the following statements is true about art films? Option A, they are very easy to understand. Option B, they don't have any meaning at all. Option C, they don't easily convey their meanings. Option D, if you sleep through the art film, you will not understand anything. If you wake during the art film also, you may not understand anything.
D.
C and D.
D. And D.
D.
Oh, C.
C.
D also correct. The art film does not easily convey its meanings, whereas a TV serial will give you meanings in a plate. The same meaning will be given several times, so that even if you sleep through 1 or 2 episodes also, nothing will happen. You will still understand the story. So, read-only text is like a TV serial. You can just read it, you will get everything. It offers you meanings on a plate. It is like fast food. Write-only text is like you have to create meanings. It's very difficult. It is like only the ingredients are given. You will have to cook it and eat it yourself. Did you understand? The read-only text is easy to understand. It is a realist text. Write-only text is like a modernist text. Roland Barthes talked about all that. Now, do you know any other post-structuralist other than Jacques Derrida?
Lacan. No, इसको लगाएं psychoanalysis.
Michel Foucault.
Jacques Lacan was a post-structuralist psychoanalyst. Okay, Michel Foucault also was.
Judith Butler.
Judith Butler also post-structuralist feminist.
Paul Deman.
Paul Deman, very good. He is a Pakka deconstructionist from Yale School. Correct.
Harold Bloom.
Harold Bloom, Jeffrey Hartman, Paul Deman,
Miller.
Miller. No, J. Hillis Miller is not a deconstructionist. He was a
Yale Maphist. Miller. Yale Maphist.
Hillis Miller was. So,
Michael Foucault.
Barbara Johnson, the Yale School of deconstructionists were there. What are the works by Jacques Derrida? Important works by Jacques Derrida.
Time symbol.
Grammatology.
Dermatology.
Of grammatology.
Of grammatology.
Emporia.
Of grammatology, writing and difference.
Spectres of Marx.
Listen.
Spectres of Marx.
Spectres of Marx. But listen. Of grammatology, writing and difference, and speech and phenomena. These 3 books were all published in which year?
1967. 1967.
Which was the essay by Jacques Derrida that inaugurated post-structuralism?
Structure, sign and play.
Sign and play.
Structure, sign, and play, the discourse of science, which he presented at Johns Hopkins University in USA.
1966.
1966. What is the 2 times I showed this term here, Derrida's term. What are important terms by Derrida? He talked about logocentrism and metaphysics of presence. What is logocentrism? Do you know that I will explain. Switch off your mics. I will explain. Do you know that logocentrism was not a word coined by Derrida? It was coined by, I found it in Wikipedia. It was coined by a German philosopher, Ludwig Klages, K-L-A-G-E-S. Ludwig Klages, K-L-A-G-E-S. Now, what is logocentrism? Logocentrism is that tradition in the West that gives importance to words or logos, that gives importance to language and words. For example, suppose I am showing you, I conduct a webinar and I am only showing you pictures I'm not even lecturing. I'm just showing you pictures. Will you be happy? You won't be happy. These pictures might be very meaningful, but you want words. When I speak, immediately you want handouts. You want books. I say, join my video course, but immediately you will say, are there any materials, reading materials? That is all because you are logocentric. Because you want words. This is a Western idea. We are all becoming Western. In Gurukula Vidyabhyasam, in the ancient India, when students lived with their gurus and studied, what did the gurus give them? Truckloads of reading material that they could photocopy? No, most of the time it was only oral. Some few palm leaves will be there with few letters on it, but reading material like this that we have today, it is only a new phenomenon. So logocentrism is that tradition that gives importance to words or logos. People are happy only with words. You know, your parents will, or your friends will show you, or your spouses will show you love in many ways. But we want them to say it. We want people to put in words. You know, this I love you has become so common and so meaningless these days. Even people we don't love at all, we will say love you, and they will say love you too. And in our hearts, we will be daggers with them. We will want to kill them. It is the most meaningless word now. This is the tradition of logocentrism. Words or language becomes the expression of a reality, becomes the expression of an emotion, of a relationship. Did you understand? There is a connection between thought, speech, and writing that exists in logocentrism. I am thinking, I'm speaking, and immediately you are writing what I'm speaking, because you're afraid that my speech will go and you want to put it down in writing. Logos means word or speech or thought or law or reason. Logos is like God. So Derrida questioned logocentrism because he said logocentrism has a metaphysics of presence. Metaphysics of presence means in Western culture, in today's culture, we want presence, not absence. I am always worried about presence. Only 66 participants are here, are present here because the others are watching in YouTube. I'm sure more than 120 people are watching this program right now. But I am worried. Are they present? Are they listening to me? Are they sleeping? Are they awake? I'm thinking, why? Because I'm logocentric. Because I want your presence. I'm disconcerted. I'm upset by your absence. Did you understand? When I give you, suppose I'm not giving you so many points. Many of you told me yesterday, it's a very good session because there is so much useful information. When information is present, when I give you something as presence, then we all like it. We don't like absence. We don't like silence. We don't like unsaid words. Did you understand? So metaphysics of presence is that Western tradition of privileging presence over absence. But then Derrida says, isn't that very wrong, undemocratic? Because presence will only be always those powerful people. Absence will always be the powerless people. Is it that, actually look at this webinar. The moment any sound is heard from your side, I say mute your microphones, don't speak. You are the people who made me. I said at the beginning, you are the people who make this webinar. If one by one, all of you leave this webinar because it is not interesting, because it is not useful, will there be any webinar? Will there be me? No, you are the center. You are the people who are making the webinar. But you are always the margin and absent. You have to be absent. You have to be silent. You can't say what you want. You know, it is like that in our society. The power is wielded by some people, some centers. The others are turned into the margins. So Derrida is questioning this privileging of presence, of privileging of essence, the privileging of identity. What about all those people who cannot immediately show their presence or identity because of some reason? In texts also, presence and absence are there mostly. In a lot of movies or traditional books, etc., the man is the presence, the woman is usually the absence. These days, heroines have an increasing role in movies. There are many heroine-centered movies, but in the past, remember, the heroine is always absent, appearing only sometime or the other. The focus is always on the hero. So in terms of gender, in terms of religious minorities, in terms of class, social class, etc., this issue of metaphysics of presence is very crucial. Derrida said that there is no presence that doesn't contain traces of absence. Every presence contains traces of absence. You understand? That is ultimately leading to difference. Difference means nothing is here, nothing is present, everything is also absent. For example, in school days, we would study meanings of words. One word is equal to another word we will study. But isn't that wrong actually? Because one word's meaning is never exactly the same as another word. Isn't it? There is a lot of in-between meanings, meanings that are not expressed, meanings that are not given. Those meanings are also there as part of a word's meaning, isn't it? So isn't it wrong to make one word presence because meaning is mostly what is absent? Did you understand? So metaphysics of presence is problematized by Derrida. The next term that he talked about is binary oppositions. The binary oppositions are, in language, there is this system of pitting one word against another. Man against woman, day against night, good against evil. Why should always be day against night? What about evening or dusk? What about dawn? You know, the gray areas are always disregarded in a binary opposition. You divide the world into two, good and evil, and one will always be privileged. One will always be more important than the other. That is the problem with the binary opposition. In colonialism, when the colonizers divided the world into white and non-white, white and native, white and black, problem you will see there, because white is privileged over black. So Derrida questioned binary oppositions. And like you said, Derrida talked about deconstruction. Deconstruction is a term that he borrowed from Martin Heidegger, who talked about destruction. Deconstruction is an approach to understanding texts or disciplines by looking at the disunities that are inherent in it. Usually we look at the unity of a text. Usually we look at the wholeness of a text. Rather than look at the unity of a text, Derrida is looking at the gaps, the fissures, the breaks, the silences in the text. But Derrida says that we have to break open the text and look at what is inside the text and look at how the text is constructed. Deconstruction, the activity of deconstruction is like the peeling of an onion. You have to peel off layers of meaning of the text, and ultimately no text will remain. Ultimately, only these layers will remain. Deconstruction might show that there are many meanings in a text, or that there are no meanings in a text. And then Derrida talked about difference. What is difference? Difference is a word that is coined from difference plus deferment. Difference means what? Saussure, Ferdinand de Saussure had said that every meaning, every word gets its meaning from its difference from other words. Every word gets its meaning from its difference from other words. Look at the word green or the color green. Green is what is not blue, what is not lilac, what is not red, what is not white, what is not gray, what is not black. Suppose your mother is going shopping and you want a green sari or green shirt. If she brings home a blue shirt, will you be happy? All your friends decide to wear a green dress or green shirt or something. Your mother brings you a blue shirt. Will you be happy?
No.
Blue
No,
and
ma'am.
green, almost the same color. Almost it is the same color. Be happy with this. You won't be happy because green is what is not blue. Green is what is not gray. Green is what is not violet, isn't it? So every word gets its meaning from other words that are different from it. Meaning depends on difference. But Derrida showed that meaning also depends on deferment. Now Derrida is looking, his expression is changing. Look at him. His expression is changing. He's looking at me and thinking, wow, Kalyani, you are explaining very well. You know what happened? Somebody asked Derrida, what is deconstruction? And Derrida said, I don't know, I'm trying to find out. Because if you say anything with definiteness, deconstruction is this. If you say like that, then that is against deconstruction. Nothing has essential meaning, that nothing has complete meaning. You know, everything is in a process of becoming. Everything is in a process of formation. That is how difference is. Difference means meaning gets deferred or postponed. You can never say, this is the meaning. If you say, this is the meaning, that is logos. If you say, meaning is this and that and that and that, I can't express, I don't know. Usually when the teacher speaks, it is logos. The teacher may not know everything, but he or she will pretend to know everything and say logos. This is deconstruction. This is structuralism. This is post-structuralism, like this. When the student speaks, it is usually difference. Student says, I don't know, I forgot, probably this is deconstruction. Deconstruction is also this, difference is also this. Like that, many, many meanings will come out. Difference means what is not fixed. It is always getting postponed. Meanings are changing. Did you understand? Difference is displacement. It is shifting. It is a progression. Absence, will you please mute yourselves? Bharti, do you want to ask something or did you accidentally raise your hands? Were you trying to scratch your head or something and raised your hand? Or do you want to ask something? Bharti?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
I had a doubt. Could you explain arc, accretute, and supplement? These were the two terms which are associated with Derrida as well.
What and supplement?
Arc, accreture, and supplement. The term supplement.
That I'll come to. Archi-accreture I'll come to. Supplement I did not take up because it's, I will explain. Speech has a lack in it. When I speak, remember Saussure prioritized speech over writing. Saussure gave importance to speech over writing. And that is because speech has presence. When I speak, it is not sufficient for you. You want handout or you want to write down what you're hearing. Why? Because speech has a lack. It will get, dissipated. So writing is the supplement of speech. You are trying to complement speech with writing. You are trying to fill the lack with writing. And writing exists as a process of it's like invagination. That is the sexual term that he used. That means one within the other. Speech and writing exist together. Writing is a supplement of speech and writing exist together. Together, that is the logos. You are asking me a premature question because I'm coming to all that. When I explain difference, the next thing that I'm talking about is archi writing. So when Derrida talked about difference, he differentiated it from logos. Logos is what is fixed and difference is what is not fixed, what is fluid, what is changing. When the teacher speaks, I told you it is like logos. If you say this is the meaning, that is like logos. but there is a questioned logos. And within logos, there is this speech and you're writing on paper. Speech and writing coexist within logos. Instead of logos, instead of the binary opposition between speech and writing, which are both logos and which are both limited because they are fixed. When I speak, I am speaking in a fixed manner. I am saying only some things that are related to post-structuralism. I am not telling you everything in post-structuralism. Post-structuralism is a fluid, ever-changing, growing field of inquiry. But when I take some ideas from post-structuralism and talk about a few things in my speech, and when you write down those few things with all your spelling mistakes and incompleteness, etc., that speech and that writing that you do are both expressions of the so-called fixed logos, which is, however, incomplete and no good. Instead of that, Derrida talked about the concept of écriture. Écriture is a larger kind of writing. That post-structuralism, which is fluid, which is growing, which anybody can talk about, which is there in everything around us. So many examples. That is écriture. A very good example would be the two conceptions of God. When you talk about God as an energy, as there everywhere in this world, God as having created this universe, God is setting everything in motion, then we don't fight about that God. But when one religion says, this is what God is, God wears yellow silk and plays basuri, or God resides in Ayodhya, God was born there in Ayodhya and he lives in Ayodhya. No other religion should be there in Ayodhya. All other religious centers should be demolished in Ayodhya because only our God is there in Ayodhya. That is logos. Logos is fixed. It doesn't take into consideration all the multiple meanings and multiple manifestations and changing implications. No, logos is fixed. And speech and writing are within logos. Derrida says we should focus on écriture, the larger concept of meaning, the larger concept of God, who is everybody's, which is everywhere. That meaning is everywhere. Everybody can contribute to that meaning. All readers can read and contribute to the meaning. All readers can, interpret the text when you talk about écriture. Archi-écriture is a very small concept. It means that écriture that comes before speech. When I'm asking one of you, okay, define what is écriture. I just explained what is écriture. Let me see if you were paying attention. Raven said, what is écriture? Explain. And then Raven will switch on his mic and say, écriture is writing. I'm Raven. Raven is saying, écriture is writing. I say, yes, what else? It is a term coined by Derrida. I say yes. And then again, he's thinking and he's saying, écriture is against logos because logos is fixed. Écriture is not fixed. I said, yes, I guess you understood. Now, when Raven speaks like this, there is something happening in his mind just before he speaks. There is in his mind one wheel turning with Derrida, écriture, post-structuralism, difference, deconstruction, all these meanings, all that he heard now and before, everything that he read, everything is coming in his mind in a kind of salad. And out of that, one or two words will come, one or two sentences will come. That writing in a very, what can I say? In a very formless manner that takes place in his mind before he speaks, that takes place in anybody's mind before anybody speaks, is called archi-writing or archi-écriture. Écriture alone is a larger concept. Écriture is the meaning, word meaning is writing. Écriture alone is a larger concept. When you talk about, écriture is post-structuralist, logos is structuralist. When you talk about écriture, you are talking not only about the text. When you talk about The Tempest, for example, Tempest is a romance, a play written by Shakespeare with Prospero, Caliban, Miranda, Ferdinand, etc. as characters. Tempest is set against colonialism, finished. That is logos. But that logos comes within Ekricha. That is not only what Tempest is. Tempest is an experience. Tempest is an emotion. Tempest is a magical experience, is magic. Tempest is about people oppressing other people. Tempest is about cheating in humanity, in human societies. Tempest is about the power craze that anybody can undergo. Anybody is Prospero or Caliban or Sebastian or Alonso or Miranda or Ferdinand. Tempest is about pure love against gross love. Tempest is about me because I have experienced some of these things. Tempest is about you. We have grown up with Tempest. Tempest is the reason you passed NET. Tempest is the reason you got a job. You know, everything subjective, objective, every interpretation of Tempest, every adaptation of Tempest, anything you can say about Tempest comes within the Ekricha of Tempest. But the logos is limited. Tempest is a play written by Shakespeare in this year. It has these characters finished. You can write a short essay on Tempest that will be logos, but you will never you will never finish speaking about Tempest. That is Ekricha. Did you understand? So Archi writing is that kind of writing that precedes speech and writing, that comes before speech and writing. And this speech and that writing that comes after Archi writing, both are actually logos. And that logos is contained within the larger concept of Ekricha. When you worship one God, that is logos, as an idol or as one concept, the God of the Hindus, the God of the Muslims, the God of the Christians, the God of the Jains, that is logos. But break free from your religion and look around you and see God, that is Ekricha. Ekricha is against the illusory authenticity of speech. When I speak, I give the wrong impression or illusory impression that I know, that I am the authority, that you can learn from me. I am giving you meanings, take down. That is logos. That is wrong. That is illusory. Ekricha is when I say, I don't know. A teacher can bring Ekricha into the class. How? By saying, I don't know. I am wrong. This is incomplete. I can never teach you all this. You have to learn on your own. You have to do your own work. You have to do your own research. You are the ones who are passing, not me. That is Ekricha. That is post-structuralist. If the teacher says, I will teach you everything. I know everything. I will teach you everything. Take down my notes. Study only my notes. You will pass this exam. That is how we passed in school. If teacher doesn't give notes, we don't know how to pass. That is logos. In university level, we are studying Ekricha. We never finish studying because there is so much to research and research and research. How many ever years we study, it is not enough. That is good. That is because we are post-structuralist. That is because we are university level students. If anybody says, I finished studying, you should say logos. If anybody says, even after studying and passing, if somebody says, I have only started, I always say, I have passed NET with JRF in 1998, I think. 1998. When I was a student, I wrote this exam. And then I have been teaching since then for 22 years. And I am saying, I am still a student, I am still learning, and it is true. I am still learning every day. Before this webinar also, I sat and studied. That is Ekricha. Ekricha is true. Logos is incorrect. Logos is untrue. Logos is what we want. We don't want confusion. Ekricha is confusion. We don't want confusion. We want everything in a nutshell. We want everything in a small package, a capsule. If I give you one book and say, you ask me, what is that one book I need to study for NET? You are asking me for logos. There is no one book you should study for NET. You should study every book in the world for NET if possible. That is Ekricha. I'm exaggerating. You don't have to study every book in the world. But please don't think one book will save you. That is in school. In school to pass, you can study one book. In the university level, you should study as many books as you can. That doesn't mean it is endless studying. That only means it is more deep. It is more intense. So that is Derrida's concept of archy writing or archy literature. Did you understand?
That was
Did
a
you
great
like the
explanation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes,
Wonderful.
ma'am.
I really need one glass of water.
Perfectly understood, ma'am.
You know, you cannot talk about literature without talking about difference, because literature is what has difference. First, you have to start from logocentrism. Everything is supposed to be logocentric. And in logocentrism, there is metaphysics of presence. Presence and absence automatically lead us to binary oppositions. And then we have to deconstruct it. When you deconstruct it, you realize that everything is characterized by difference. And when you talk about difference, you understand that logos should be replaced with literature. This is the story. In between, I cannot teach this. This is how the relation is, isn't it? Now, I guess everybody is sleeping, is it?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No.
Why did I ask that question? Because of which of these? Why did I ask that question?
Metaphysics of presence and
Metaphysics of presence. I have to know you are there, that you are present. Otherwise, I am feeling insecure as a teacher. Am I failing in my duty? Are they listening to me? I don't know. Who are the contemporaries of Derrida? Oh my God, I have so much to finish. It's already 5 o'clock.
Paul Deman, Harold Bloom.
Martin Heidegger. Who is Heidegger? Do you know Heidegger? German philosopher. What is he associated with? He was a student of Husserl, whom Derrida did his research on.
Phenomenology.
He coined the term deconstruction.
Heidegger also talked about hermeneutics and existentialism. What is Heidegger's most important book?
On phenomena. Hermeneutics and
Being and Time.
yeah, being and time. Yes.
Heidegger's most important book is Being and Time. Please read about it. Very, very important. The next contemporary we have here is Roland Barthes. What are Roland Barthes' books? Names of books.
Death of the author.
Death of the author.
I say Death of the Author then. S bar Z, which is where he talks about Balzac's story, Sarrazin. He talks about Balzac's story, Sarrazin, in S bar Z. Isn't it? Then, other works by Roland Barthes.
Image, music, and
Image, music, text.
Correct. Image, music, text. Then,
Writing degree 0.
Oh, very famous. Writing degree 0. Mythologies I already mentioned. Where does he talk about the readerly, writerly text and placer and jouissance?
Criticism and truth.
From work to text, one is there. Then the pleasure of the text.
The pleasure of the text.
What is the most famous first book by Claude Lévi-Strauss?
Cultural.
A structuralist anthropologist. The elementary structures of kinship. The elementary structures of kinship. You know what he did, right? He studied, I told you already, he studied cultures and mythologies and showed that there are underlying structures. He changed, and until Claude Lévi-Strauss, people had this Joseph Conrad idea that there are primitive people, undeveloped people, you know, Africans, Indians, etc. are primitive. Lévi-Strauss's work changed forever the understanding of what is primitive and what is culture, what is civilization. He showed that people whom we consider as primitive are not so primitive. We are also like them. He wrote about the savage mind and the scientific mind. And he showed that even the scientific mind is ultimately a savage mind. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What did Jacques Lacan do? Tell me some points about Jacques Lacan. There is only one book that was published in his lifetime. What was that book?
Mirror image.
Name of the book. One book only published in his lifetime. Ecrits, E-C-R-I-T-S. That is the only one book published in his lifetime. Are they read about them in Wikipedia or some easy website? Read about them. You have been studying English for so many years. Why haven't you read about these critics till now in Wikipedia, their life? Like Shakespeare and Chaucer, we should know about them also. Their life, where did they live, what did they do? Even if you don't remember everything, occasionally, once in 2-3 months at least, once read about them. Will you do that? That is when you become a real
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Literary theory is difficult because you are trying to study only the theory without the life. When you don't know the people, have you ever looked at Derrida this long?
No, ma'am.
No.
Be with them, talk to them, read about them, know them. Then they will become easier. They will become easy to understand. They will become like your friends.
Very true.
Yes. You're treating them like your enemies. Poor Derrida and Lacan. As if you're using them, as if you need them only to pass exams. They should be very sad. We did all this work and people are just using us. They don't even know where we were born or what we did, which is that one book which was published. They'll be crying now. Oh, Derrida is looking at me with so much love. My dear Kalyani, thank you for saying this. Okay, tell me. You should read about them. Okay, promise me.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me. You were going to talk. As soon as I said Lacan, you were going to start about mirror stage and all that. Tell me, what are his important terms? Mirror stage, then the psychic structure. He talked about Freud talked about ego, id, and superego. Ego, superego, and id, right? Ego means conscious mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Superego means conscience. And id is the unconscious mind. Superego is the subconscious mind. Now tell me, what is the psychic structure of Lacan? According to Lacan, mind is divided into 3: real, imaginary, and symbolic. Real, imaginary, and symbolic. Real is what you really are, but you can never know that. Because from the time you learned language, at the beginning of your linguistic stage, there was the mirror stage. When you were like 6 months old, you looked at the mirror. From that time onwards, you began to learn language in different ways. In your linguistic stage, you began to get this imaginary. You began to think of yourself, imagine yourself in certain ways. Okay, my name is this. Is that a real thing? Your name? No. I belong to this religion or culture. Is that a real thing? No. Your identity has been formed by the society, culture, learning, isn't it? And then you reach the symbolic stage. After the imaginary stage, you reach the symbolic stage when you begin to construct, when you're completely constructed in language. In the symbolic stage, language constructs you. Language is what you are. We are all so concerned about the clothes we wear, the look we have, the shape of our face, the complexion of our face, the features of our face. If our skin is sagging, we will do something about it. If our skin is growing dark, we'll do something about it. Why? Because our appearance is the language in which we communicate. Being fat conveys one meaning. Being slim conveys another meaning. You know, fat means old. Slim means young. Slim means smart. Slim means beautiful and pretty. So on and so forth. So we are constructing ourselves in language. How we speak. We all want to speak English well. We all want to behave well. When we bring up our children, we teach them to appear properly. You know, more than what they are, we are mostly concerned about how they appear. Say thank you. We don't say feel thankful. Even if you don't say thank you, you feel thankful. Do we say that to children? No. We say thank you. What they feel is no problem. So like that. So Jacques Lacan talked about real, imaginary, and symbolic. Did you understand? Next contemporary is Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault. Michel, tell me the important terms of Michel Foucault.
Discourse.
Mentality.
Panopticon.
Biopower.
Power.
Knowledge. Power.
Surveillance.
Discourse.
Surveillance.
Epistemology.
Epistemology.
Governmentality.
Governmentality. Archaeology and genealogy. Then
Surveillance.
Surveillance. Some new things important in cultural studies you did not say. Biopower, biopolitics, that you did not say. If you are saying other things, will you switch off your mic? When you are talking to your friends there, please switch off your mic. If you are talking to us, please switch on your mic. Okay. I'm not going into the discussion of Foucault because so many things remain. Details of Foucault will not be asked in Maharashtra. And my friends Raven and Shashi have been telling me we should conduct a webinar on Michel Foucault and his terms. I will think of doing that soon. Would you like that?
That's a great idea, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am. And if you can connect it with Body and Judith Butler. Yes.
Yeah. I am a little hesitant because as soon as they said I didn't do it because I am a student. Please, if you're speaking to somebody else, switch off your mic. They don't realize their mic is switched on. That's why they are thinking my mic is switched off.
Vedant.
Okay, I will just mute everybody. Mute all. Okay. Listen. So I'll teach about because Michel Foucault is very complicated. If I start now, we won't be able to cover a few more things I want to say. So let us focus on the exam and move ahead. We will do Michel Foucault. I have to be confident. With some half knowledge, like I taught you Derrida, I can teach you Foucault, but a student should be a student, and before I should not be so precise. It's not like a class. Webinar means even professors will come and attend. I have to be, thorough with the topics and all that. Only then I will conduct a webinar. That's why I have to make a very good PowerPoint presentation. There should be no gaps or loop, nothing wrong with it like that. Okay, I'll do it. Thank you for giving me confidence.
That's a great idea.
Yes, I'll do that. Julia Kristeva, that is how in France, something like that they say. She's associated with the concept of intertextuality and l'écriture féminine. Intertextuality means one text is invariably shaped by other texts. There is an interconnection between texts. Isn't that the meaning? Intertextuality means every text will have elements of other texts, either in the deliberate form of quotations or allusions. When you write a research proposal, you are asked to give citations, you are asked to give quotations. That makes your research proposal interdisciplinary, intertextual, isn't it? So there is obligatory intertextuality where you are obliged to show with citation that you have borrowed. There is optional intertextuality where you may or may not show also some ideas and all you will take. And there is accidental intertextuality. Sometimes you don't even know that your book is intertextual. Without your knowledge, intertextuality can creep in. That kind of intertextuality is also there. Écriture féminine is a feminist term originally coined by Elaine Sissou in The Laugh of the Medusa, 1975. The Laugh of the Medusa was the essay in which Elaine Sissou, Cixous, coined the term écriture féminine or feminine writing, a uniquely feminine style of writing that incorporates women's peculiarities. Julia Kristeva defined écriture féminine as being more semiotic than symbolic. She used the terms from Jacques Lacan, and she said that women's writing should be more fluid, more semiotic than symbolic. Did you understand? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So let us leave literary theory for the time being, and let us talk about Toni Morrison, 1931 to 2019. She is like the mother of African American literature. She is the one who brought African American literature into being. Everybody knows The Bluest Eye is her first novel. The Bluest Eye is about Pecola Breedlove. Pecola Breedlove is a black girl. She longs for acceptance and love. She longs for blue eyes, she thinks that if she gets blue eyes, then everybody will love her. You understand? And Pecola is the daughter of Collie and Pauline. Collie and Pauline. And they, like in Antoinette Cosway's case in White Sargasso Sea, in Pecola's case also, her mother's insecurities and frustrations are depriving Pecola of a good childhood. And then her mother has a little limp, and her mother is a very insecure woman. She doesn't feel good about their blackness. She loves white children more in the house that she works than her own children. And her father, Collie, is also a broken man. He had his mother got him illegitimately. He wanted a father. He went in search of his father alone, found him, but his father did not recognize him or accept him. And he has been teased by white men a lot. He has lived the life of a broken man. And Collie became a drunkard. The family broke up in bad ways, and their son kept running away. And finally, he became such a broken man that he raped his own daughter, Pecola. He did not want to do it. He was not even aware of what he is doing, perhaps. We are not justifying what he did. He is a very bad person. But why he became bad, that is the focus in the novel. And the whole story is told by Pecola's friend, Claudia McTeer. After Pecola has been raped and she went mad. Pecola went mad. Her baby also died. And Claudia McTeer and Frida McTeer, two sisters, they are from a very different sort of a black family. In their family, they are proud of their blackness. They don't like drinking milk and, they don't try to become fair. They are proud of their blackness. That kind of black people are also there. And if Bluest Eye is about girlhood, which the second novel that she wrote was about womanhood, which is the second novel?
Sula.
Sula is the second novel. It is a story of Sula and Nell, two girls growing up. They are from two very different families. Like this, there are many kinds of black families. Nell's mother is very strict and Nell is brought up as a good girl. Sula's family is completely broken up. Sula's mother is like a prostitute. She sleeps with every man in the locality. Sula's grandmother and mother are always fighting, but grandmother loves mother. Grandmother's name is Eva. Mother's name is Hannah. And Sula is therefore coming from a family that doesn't give her a lot of support. In their girlhood, Sula and Nell became great friends. They decide to share everything. One day, Sula and Nell were playing, and Sula holds one boy, Chicken Little, by the arm and swings him like that. And the grip loosens, and the boy falls into the river and drowns. Sula is the one who did it. But Nell is also responsible. Nell shares everything with Sula in those days. But Nell is afraid of taking responsibility. And Nell pretends that it is all Sula's fault. There is a man's shack, one shed nearby this place where this happened. Shadrach, that is the man. He's a bitter man. He's a war veteran and he is angry with everybody. He doesn't have any friends. And Sula is the only girl he has ever appreciated, or Sula is the only girl who has ever visited him. Sula and Nell grow up, and Sula takes after her mother, and she also starts sleeping with a lot of men, including Nell's husband. Sula and Nell break up, and finally Sula dies. Only Shadrach is there to feel sorry for her. Sometime later, Nell visits her grave, and then Nell realizes that it is not all Sula's fault. Nell realizes that for Chicken Little also, she was also responsible. She takes responsibility because in those days, they were together in everything. So these are novels that are very deep and very, incisive. They throw insight upon so many issues related to race and gender and womanhood, femininity. Very, very important novels. Now tell me, what are some of the other important novels of Toni Morrison?
Beloved.
Song of Solomon.
Beloved.
Song of Solomon, yes. Then.
Tar Baby and Beloved.
Tar Baby, correct. Then.
Beloved.
Paradise.
Beloved, I heard. Then.
Paradise.
Paradise.
Mercy.
Song of Solomon came in 1976. Tar Baby in 81. Beloved in 1987. Beloved is a kind of a gothic novel. It's about an escaped slave. What is her name? Sete. Sete is an escaped slave living in Cincinnati. And when she escaped from slavery, she had to kill her own daughter. And she is feeling sorry for it all her life. And she is probably imagining that one woman has come to her in her life in the form of a ghost. Whether that woman called Beloved is really with her, or is she a ghost, or is it just Sete's imagining, that is not clear in the novel. It is about Sete's traumas and coming to terms with herself. Such a magnificent weaving together of elements into brilliant plots. That is what you see in these novels. Jazz, Paradise, Love. Last one is Home, A Mercy and Home. So many brilliant novels. I have just told you about the important ones. Who are the contemporary African Americans of, tell me about African American writers. What are the important names of African American writers that you know?
Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou, Langston Hughes.
Lorraine Hansberry.
Lorraine Hansberry.
Zora Neale Hurston.
Zora Neale Hurston.
Suzanne Lori Parks.
Huh?
Alice
Suzanne
Walker.
Alice Walker.
Lion and the Jewel.
That is African, not African American. Wole Soyinka.
Laura Hurston.
Chimamanda Adichie is also African, not African American.
Suzanne Lori Parks.
Susan Parks.
Top Dog Underdog. Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah, African American. Correct. Then?
James Baldwin.
James Baldwin. Correct. Let us see my list here. I have also said more or less the same names. Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, Richard Wright, Ralph Ellison, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, Lorraine Hansberry, Amiri Baraka. Instead of just lecturing, let me ask you questions about them. Which of them, Alice Walker. Is that on? Yeah, sorry. Which of them is associated with womanism?
Alice Walker.
Alice Walker. Alice Walker in the novel, in the book In Search of Our Mother's Gardens, talked about womanism, isn't it?
Yes.
Which of them is the author of Native Son?
Ralph Ellison.
Ralph Ellison wrote Invisible Man.
Richard Wright.
Richard Wright.
Richard Wright wrote Native Son. Correct.
Thomas.
Which of them was a famous poet of Harlem Renaissance?
Langston.
Langston was a famous poet of the Harlem Renaissance.
Zora Neale Hurston.
Zora Neale Hurston was not a poet. She was a novelist of the Harlem Renaissance. Please listen to me. I'm speaking. Langston Hughes, mute yourselves. No, don't mute. Just listen to me about this bit. Don't mute because I'll ask you questions. Langston Hughes was a poet of the Harlem Renaissance. He has written very major poems like I Too Sing America. It was Walt Whitman who wrote I Sing America. Langston Hughes wrote I Too Sing America. Langston Hughes has also written Let America Be America Again. Another important poem. Zora Neale Hurston is a novelist. Zora Neale Hurston also belonged to Harlem Renaissance, but her very important novel was Their Eyes Were Watching God. Their Eyes Were Watching God. It is a coming-of-age novel of a young teenage girl called Janie Crawford. Their Eyes Were Watching God was a coming-of-age novel about Janie Crawford. Now, Richard Wright, I told you, wrote Native Son. Richard Wright's Native Son is the story of a 20-year-old boy or man called Bigger Thomas. Bigger is his name, and he's a criminal. The novel is about why Bigger became a criminal. What made Bigger a criminal? That is what the novel is about. How the society turns black people into criminals. Ralph Ellison wrote Invisible Man, we said. It is modeled on Dostoevsky's Notes from the Underground. And it is also a Kafkaesque kind of novel where the protagonist, he's an unnamed black man. He's talking about his life, his living conditions. And he's saying that his blackness has made him invisible. He has been experiencing a kind of social invisibility because he is black. People don't even recognize he exists because he is black. That is Ralph Ellison. Ralph Ellison was a very important, all these people actually, James Baldwin also, were followers of Richard Wright. They were inspired by Richard Wright. Now, what is the most important novel by James Baldwin about the church and its effect on African American people? Tell me. John Grimes is the protagonist. Which is the novel by James Baldwin. Go Tell It on the Mountain. James Go Tell It on the Mountain is the story of James Baldwin's Go Tell It on the Mountain is the story of John Grimes, J-R-I-M-E. John Grimes is a young boy and a teenager in Harlem in the 1930s. And the novel is about his relationship with the family and the church. What is the role of the church in people's lives? That is what the novel is about. Go Tell It on the Mountain. James Baldwin has also written Giovanni's Room, then Notes of a Native Son. It has nothing to do with Richard Wright's Native Son, but it is just modeled on Richard Wright's Native Son. Notes of a Native Son by James Baldwin. Now, Maya Angelou, which is she has written many autobiographies. Which is her first famous autobiography?
I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. After that, she has written many autobiographies. She has written many autobiographies out of the realization that somebody's life is never complete. You can never, if you say, this is my autobiography and it talks about my life completely, then that is logos. Understanding of literature is what makes you write many autobiographies. Maya Angelou was also a poet and storyteller and actress and activist. Before that, she led a very bohemian life, almost like a prostitute. You know, many African Americans have broken families and they lead very precarious lives. Maya Angelou's two famous poems are the titles of her two collections.
Still I Rise.
Still I Rise and Still I Rise and Phenomenal Woman. Phenomenal Woman. The second one I mentioned is And Still I Rise, which is the famous play by Lorraine Hansberry.
Raisin in a Sun.
Raisin in the Sun. A Raisin in the Sun is about the Younger family. Youngers, that is the name of the family. There is a mother, there is a son and daughter. The son is married. And everybody, they're all awaiting a check that will come to them from the insurance company. It is following the death of the father. And they all want to spend the money in their own ways differently. Benita, the daughter, wants to go to medical school. The son wants to, what is the name of the son? Does anybody know?
Walter Lee. Walter Lee.
Walter wants to start a liquor shop. The mother wants to buy a house for themselves. And Ruth, there is a wife, Walter's wife. They have a son also. So this is the family. They are a very poor family. They all are awaiting that check and they're quarreling over it. At that time, the mother goes and pays the advance for a house in a white neighborhood. Not because she wants to live in a white neighborhood, but because it was cheap, that house. And the thing is that in those days, the blacks never lived in white neighborhoods. The white people did not want blacks to live near them in those days. So when the advance is given, the white people in that neighborhood send a lawyer, a messenger, offering the Younger family money. Meanwhile, the rest of the money, Walter's friends took and lost it. Walter lost the rest of the money that came from the check also. At this time, they're offered money for not moving into that white neighborhood house. When they're offered money, Walter and others are tempted to take it. But then they realize that Their father had stood up for their black identity. It is so very important to not bend their knees before the whites. So they decided to move into that house and somehow raise that money and pay for the house. So they assert their black pride. That is how the play ends. The play is called A Raisin in the Sun. A Raisin in the Sun. The title A Raisin in the Sun is taken from
Langston Hughes.
Langston Hughes, A Dream Deferred. That is the name of the poem. Amiri Baraka. Have you heard of Amiri Baraka? What is his famous play?
Mass. What is that?
Black mass.
Dutchman.
Dutchman.
Amiri Baraka's Dutchman shows two characters, Lula and Clay. Clay is a black man, Lula is a white woman. They are sitting on a metro train and they are strangers. They are talking and Lula is acting a little strange. She is giving Clay a lot of apples to eat. And Clay is a young man who is eager to build his life, to get a job. He is dressing very neatly like the white man. He does not have any quarrel with the white people. He wants to belong to America. And Lula provokes him. She acts in a very provocative manner. And at one weak moment, Clay's innermost thoughts come out. He gets very angry with Lula on the metro train for behaving so provocatively. And he tells her black people hate white people and they would kill white people if possible. And white people have deprived them of everything. And till then, he was pretending that he has no problems. He belongs to this America. And suddenly his blackness comes out. His innermost thoughts come out. His anger comes out. And on the train, Lula kills him. And everybody in the train just throw out his body. And they once again act as if nothing has happened. Lula is sitting there eating apples. Another black man gets into the train. And again, this scene is repeated. What is the meaning of this? It means that black people can never completely belong. They can never forget what they go through. And the moment they show their blackness, the moment they speak against oppression, the white society will throw them out. They become unwanted. It is so difficult for black people to belong. That is the meaning of this story, this play. Did you understand? That is Amiri Baraka's Dutchman. Which is the most important novel by Alice Walker?
Color Purple.
The Color Purple.
The Color Purple. What are the characters?
Nettie, Silly,
Shug. Silly is a girl who grows into a woman. Her sister is Nettie. They are oppressed by their own father. Celie is raped by her own father repeatedly. And Celie gets 2 children by her own father. Her father makes her believe that these children are dead. And Celie is married to a man who is much older than her. Mr. That is all she calls him. This Mr. has a son, Howard. And this Mr. brings home a mistress one day called Shug. Shug is a younger, prettier woman. And Celie and Shug become friends and lovers. And they run away from this house. And eventually they meet Nettie and their children. And Celie's children, I mean. They were growing up with a black clergyman and his wife. This is the story of how women bonding with other women helps them to survive their traumas. It is a story of how women can overcome their troubles and sufferings by holding hands and helping each other. This is somewhat the meaning of womanism. Womanism is about sisterhood. Womanism is about woman-woman bonding, which is explored by Alice Walker in many novels. Color Purple is in the form of an epistolary novel full of letters that Seeley is writing to Nettie and God, and it's a very painful story that has been made into a movie also by none other than Steven Spielberg. There is a book that Alice Walker wrote about that movie because she disagreed with the movie. And something the same river twice. That is the name of the book. Something, one word is missing there. I can't remember. Dash the same river twice. Anyway, other novels by Alice Walker, anybody knows? Meridian.
Possessing the Secret of Joy.
Secret of Joy. The Third Life of Grange Copland. These are other novels by Alice Walker. The Temple of My Familiar. Meridian. The Third Life of Grange Copland. The Temple of My Familiar. Possessing the Secret of Joy, etc. These are the important novels of Alice Walker. So that's about African American literature. Are you ready to go on and talk about another very, very important area?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you bored?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
You must be tired.
No.
Don't tell me lies.
We are not tired, actually.
Oh, wow. Let me check my sleepometer.
Yes, ma'am. You can check.
Thank you, Zoom, for giving this awesome feature, sleepometer. Wow, Margaret Atwood. Ka-dang. What a vibrant woman. Edible Woman, first novel. Tell me quickly all the other novels.
Surfacing. Lady Oracle. Life Before Man.
Are you reading from my slide or what?
Blind Assassin.
Bodily harm.
At size.
Blind Assassin.
In the
alias
Year of Blood.
Oryx and Craig. Penelope, Year of Mad Adam. Heart Goes Last.
In the Year of Blood.
This is only her novels. She has written poetry, children's books, screenplays, this, that. Oh my God. Where do we stop and where do we begin with Margaret Atwood? She is definitely the most important writer in Canada. Apart from this, there is another very important novel, book, Survival. It's a non-fiction work about Canadian literature. The Edible Woman is about Marian McAlpin, who is working for a marketing research company, and she realizes that she cannot eat anymore. She gets bulimia or anorexia nervosa because she feels that the patriarchal society is consuming her. Surfacing is about an unnamed narrator taking a journey into Quebec. And please switch off your mics. And finding that she is coming to terms with her father and her memory, with her relationship, with the loss of her child during that journey. Lady Oracle is a post-colonial Gothic novel, which is about a woman who is growing up in Toronto and writing Gothic novels, pretending to have committed suicide. She fakes her own suicide. Life Before Man is about three people and their midlife crises. Bodily Harm is about Rennie Wilford, who has had cancer, and she has had mastectomy, and she is now engaged in some she's traveling and engaged in some political events. Handmaid's Tale is set in the Republic of Gilead in the future. And the protagonist is Offred. The sequel to Handmaid's Tale was written in 2019, The Testaments, and it won Booker Prize. So many.
Oh my God. Relax, please. 1 minute. 1 minute, relax.
I don't know how we will ever come to terms with Margaret Atwood for writing so much. Okay, now I will ask you questions. Which of these novels is set in the 19th century and tells the story of a woman who killed her master?
Alias Grace.
Alias Grace. Set in the 19th century about a woman who killed the master of that house. Which of these novels is about Iris Chase Griffin and her sister? Her sister wrote a book which was published under the name of Iris.
Blind Assassin.
The Blind Assassin. That book that her sister wrote is called The Blind Assassin. Which of these novels tells the story of Iliad from a woman's perspective?
Penelope.
The Penelopiad. Which of these novels is based on The Tempest? Hagseed. Which of these novels form a trilogy of dystopian novels?
Oryx and Crake.
The Year of the Flood.
Mad Adam.
Mad Adam. After that, she wrote another dystopian novel. Which is that? About corporatism, corporate capitalism.
Handmaids.
After this, The Heart Goes Last.
The Heart Goes.
Isn't she amazing? Which is her first poetry collection? Double Persephone. Other post-colonial writers. You thought it's over, eh? We are going to talk about all these post-colonial writers quickly. I'm sure some question will come in Maharashtra set from here. Canada. I will talk only about the most important writers. Margaret Lawrence. What region did she write about?
The Stone Angels.
What region did she write about in The Stone Angel and other novels?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg. What is the name of that town she created based on Winnipeg?
Manawaka.
Manawaka. The Stone Angel.
Jest of the God.
A Jest of God. The Fire Dwellers. Bird in the House. Diviners. Laughing because me and my classroom students made a funny code to remember this. One Stone Angel was there. And then I made fun of the Stone Angel. I jested. So Jest of God. Immediately the Stone Angel went on fire. So Fire Dwellers. When fire came, all the birds flew away. So bird in the house. And then water. Diviners means finding water. Diviner means one who finds water. So when fire is burning and birds flew away, then diviners came and put out the fire. That is the code.
Wow.
Like that, make one code and study the code. You will never forget. Your brain will have complete gratitude to you. Your brain will say, thank you, my dear, for saving me from all the trouble. Please study like this only. Don't tax me like this. For the past 25, 30 years, you have been killing me studying the wrong way. Your brain will say, finally, after this webinar, if you study properly, I'll be eternally grateful to you, my dear. Your brain will tell you.
That's really true, ma'am.
Stone Angel, A Jest of God, Fire Dwellers, Bird in the House, and
The Diviners.
That is Margaret Lawrence's Manawaka novels, 5 of them. All of them are about women and their coming to terms with their life, with their identities. Did you get it? She's a prairie writer. Next important writer, Alice Munro. Alice Munro is the first laureate from Canada. Alice Munro wrote short stories.
Dance of the Happy Shades.
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls, he wrote.
Lives of women and
Runaway.
Ontario.
Correct. Alice Munro.
Progress of Love.
Yes. Alice.
Open Secrets.
Yes. Correct. More. Something
View
else.
from Castle Rock.
Dear life. Dear life.
Something I have been meaning to tell you. Something I have been meaning to tell you.
Rock.
Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
What is the region about which Alice Munro wrote?
Ontario.
Ontario. Michael Ondaatje is a writer from
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. He lives in Canada.
Newfoundland.
Huh? What are the works of Michael Ondaatje?
The English Patient.
The English Patient, then.
Cats.
The English Patient is set against which war? Second World War, and it won the Booker Prize. Which is a collection of poems that he wrote based on a notorious outlaw. The collected works of Billy the Kid. It is a collection of poems that he wrote based on an outlaw. Then he has also written a book based on his own family, autobiographical work, which is that Running in the Family. There is a book that he wrote about his own journey that he took, based on his own journey on a ship. When he was 11 years old, he had undergone a journey alone. What is that book called? Are my students listening to me? Classroom students.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you know that? They were eagerly saying, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Rapid class tomorrow itself for not answering. What is the book that he wrote based on his own journey that he took when he was 11 years old? The Cat's Table. The Cat's Table, which is the novel that he wrote about a forensic anthropologist, a woman and her friends, set against the Sri Lankan Civil War. Arey!
Forgot the story, man.
Anil's Ghost. Anil Sarah is the woman who is the forensic anthropologist. Anil's Ghost. Once more. More are there. Which is the story of a single father and 3 children. Divisadero. Which is the story of immigrant workers. I will never talk to you. In the Skin of a Lion. Okay, let me repeat the rapid fire. At least now say. Which is the novel by... Definitely you will get a question based on Michael Ondaatje. Because he's important. Which is the novel based on his own journey that he undertook when he was 11 years old?
Cat's Table.
Cat's Table.
Cat's Table refers to a table and this boy who sat at the other end opposite the captain. Which is the non-fiction work that he wrote about his autobiographical work that he wrote about his family?
Running in the Family.
Running in the Family. So it is because Kalyani Valla did not tell you once that you never knew all this. The moment Kalyani Valla tells you something, you will immediately know. Should not be like that. Some things can be known by your own reading also. Okay. Don't forget now. Before the exam, at least don't forget. Which is the collection of poetry, poems about an outlaw. The
collected work, Billy the Kid.
Collected works of Billy the Kid. Which is the novel set against the Second World War, set in an Italian villa?
The English Patient.
The English Patient, correct. Which is the novel about a woman, forensic anthropologist?
Anil's Ghost.
Against the civil war in Sri Lanka.
Anil's Ghost.
Which is the novel set against the lives of immigrant workers?
In the Skin of a Lion.
In the Skin of a Lion. There is another one I did not mention. Which is the story of a jazz musician coming through slaughter. Coming through slaughter. Will you remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is Rohinton Mysteries for short story collection?
Rose Shabag.
Tales from Firozshah. Or swimming lessons and other stories. What are his novels?
A Fine Balance.
Such a long journey. That is said before emergency.
10 millimeters.
Fine Balance, that is said during emergency. And then Family Matters. Clear? Then any other novel? And some Steventon or something is there, which is not important. Have you heard of Jan Martel?
Life of Pi.
Life of Pi.
Any other work by Jan Martel? Beatrice and Virgil. Beatrice and Virgil. Now African writers. Which is the most famous work by Alan Paton?
Cry the Beloved Country.
Cry
the Beloved Country.
The Beloved Country. What is the name of the characters?
Stephen Kumalo.
Stephen Kumalo.
Arthur. Jeffrey.
What is the name of his son? Stephen Kumalo's son? Absalom. Absalom kills whom? Jarvis. Arthur Jarvis's father is? James Jarvis. Nadine Godimer, have you heard?
Yes,
July's People.
For which novel did she get Booker Prize? She got Nobel also.
Nobel also he got, no?
For which novel did she get Booker Prize?
July's People.
The Conservationist. For Conservationist, she got Booker Prize. She wrote other novels, July's People, then
The Lying Days.
Lying Days, correct. July's People, then Lying Days, correct. Then
Reason for Loving.
Occasion for Loving is correct. They are very important. Another very important novel is Burger's Daughter. Many are there. A Sport of Nature. Chinua Achebe, born in the same year as Toni Morrison. Did you notice? Ayo, there were two babies, same age in 1930. Chinua Achebe, first novel?
Things Fall Apart.
Things Fall
Which
Apart.
are the other novels of the Africa trilogy?
Arrow of God.
Arrow of God.
In the correct order. Things Fall Apart.
No longer it is.
No longer it is. And
Arrow
of God.
Things Fall Apart. No longer it is. Arrow of God.
Arrow of God. Man of People.
A Man of the People. Who are the characters in Man of the People? Two protagonists are there.
Nanga.
Chief Nanga and
Chief
Odili.
Nanga.
Chief Nanga and Odili. Right?
Odili.
Any other novel that you know? And Hills of the Savannah. And Hills of the Savannah. Have you heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know any essay that he wrote?
Essay.
Or poetry that he wrote, poem?
The Telephone Conversation.
Wilson. Wool sewing.
Soyinka.
Novelist as teacher or something is there, na? That is prescribed. Chinua Achebe's is there. Chinua Achebe's, other than novels, what books are there or what are the prescribed?
Another Africa. Another Africa. Poems.
Okay. Then, Wole Soyinka. Where are Chinua Achebe and Wole Soyinka from?
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Nigeria. Nigerian.
And Alan Payton from?
Nigerian.
South Africa. Tell me the plays by Wole Soyinka.
Lion and Jewel.
Lion and
Jewel. Then?
Dance of the Forest.
Dance of the Forest, correct? Then?
Strong breed.
Strong breed, correct? Then?
The Interpreters.
The Interpreter. You are mixing up novels and plays. Interpreters. Those who are starting bike, please switch off your mic.
Telephone conversation.
Those who are starting bike or auto rickshaw, please switch off your mic. The Interpreters is a novel. Okay. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, where is he from?
Kenya.
Kenya. What are his works?
Decolonizing the mind.
Correct. Decolonizing the mind is an essay.
Petals of
Dialectics.
The politics of language in African literature.
Dialectics.
Petals of Blood.
Please listen to me first.
Found the journal in GQ language.
Politics of language. Yeah.
The politics of language in African literature. That is the subtitle, where he argues that English language teaching has destroyed African literature and African languages. Now, Ngugi wa Thiong'o stopped writing in English and wrote in which language? Gikuyu or Kikuyu.
GQ.
Which is the novel by Ngugi wa Thiong'o set against the Mau Mau uprising and showing characters like Njoroge, Ngoto,
Weep Not Child.
Weep Not Child. Njoroge, Ngoto, Boro. These are characters in Weep Not Child.
Not Child.
Which is the novel by Ngugi wa Thiong'o set against Mau Mau uprising again, where Waiyaki is the protagonist. There are two villages, Makuyu and Camino. Hey, I'm not calling you. It is
The river between.
River between.
Between.
The river between. I said one joke you didn't hear.
I got it.
We heard it, ma'am.
There are two villages in the novel, Makuyu and Camino. Hey, I'm not calling you the name of a village.
I remember it is Makar and Kamina.
Ma'am, I remember this novel only because of these two words, Camino.
Same here, Kamina and
I love teaching river between. It is wonderful to say Camino, Camino again and again. Which is the novel that he wrote on prison-issued toilet paper, showing the devil on the cross instead of Jesus Christ.
Devil in the cross.
Devil on the cross.
Devil on the cross. Correct. Yes. Which is the novel by Ngugi wa Thiong'o set against Kenyan independence, following, showing the characters Munira, Abdullah, Vanya, and Karega.
Atigiri.
Petals of Blood. Petals of Blood. Buchi Emecheda, which is her first novel. These days, everybody asks about Buchi Emecheda in every exam. They say first novel is In the Ditch. Other important novels?
The Purple Hibiscus.
I didn't hear.
Americana.
No. Purple Hibiscus is by Chimamanda Adichie.
Yeah.
American.
No,
American also Adichie.
Americana is also by Adichie. Buchi Emecheda wrote Second Class Citizen, The Bride Prize, The Joys of Motherhood.
Slave girl.
What girl?
Slave girl.
The slave girl, correct. Gwendolyn, etc.
Destination by Afra. That's right.
No, that is not by Buchi Amacheda.
No?
Who wrote Destination by Afra? Look up in the phone. Is it by Buchi Amacheda?
It is given
Yes, ma'am.
Buchi Amacheda.
Sorry, correct. I don't know. Ekrichar. Actually, I got confused. After I said, no, it is not, then I thought, oh my God, it is. Then I said, look up in your phone. Okay, so you will never forget because I made a mistake. Don't forget, eh? In Joys of Motherhood, she is talking against motherhood.
The slave girl.
Ego is the protagonist, very important. Where is Nuruddin Farah from?
Somalia.
Somalia. Nuruddin Farah has written many trilogies. Famous is Variations on the Theme of an African Dictatorship trilogy. Even to say the name of the trilogy, you will lose your breath. See, it is very important. They are prescribing these books everywhere. Variations on the Theme of an African Dictatorship. That is the title of a trilogy. Sweet and Sour Milk, Sardines, Close Sesame. That sardines is prescribed. Blood in the Sun trilogy. That is Maps, Gifts, Secrets, 3 plays. Sorry, novels. Maps, Gifts, Secrets, 3 novels in Blood in the Sun trilogy. Then you better read on your own. Nuruddin Farah, please read. These writers read before you go to the exam. Will you do that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Medici, Purple Hibiscus, first novel. Half of a Yellow Sun, Americana. Australia, do you know about A.D. Hope? What is he?
Poet.
Death of a bird.
Poet. Wandering Islands, first collection.
Death of a bird.
Death of a Bird, yes. Patrick White is a novelist, the first man to get Nobel Prize from Australia. Important novels are Was,
Tree of
Tree of
Man,
Man,
Happy Valley.
Happy Valley,
Riders in the Chariot.
Riders in the Chariots. See, from these writers in this slide, you will definitely get a question. You definitely should study these writers, okay? Not one question.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
David
Okay,
Malouf.
ma'am.
David Malouf wrote what? Say some books. Remembering Babylon, An Imaginary Life, The Great World. These are very important novels. Thomas Keneally wrote what? You know.
Schindler's Ark.
Schindler's Ark. Very good. Then. That is the most famous. Peter Carey, you should definitely know. Peter Carey wrote?
Jack Max.
Jack Max, based on Great Expectations. Which are the 2 novels by Peter Carey that won Booker Prize? Oscar and Lucinda and True History of the Kelly Gang. Oscar and Lucinda and True History of the Kelly Gang. Okay?
Yes.
Now, it's almost 6 o'clock and I'm almost at the end of my and energy to show that the teacher is not logos, to show that the teacher is not the end of everything. I have one writer and same thing. His works and contemporaries, you should not fail to look up. They are very important. T.S. Eliot. 20th century British literature, definitely you will get questions. I'm not explaining everything. Just take a screenshot. First major poem is Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Gerontian is about old age. The Wasteland. Hollow Men, its epigraph is important. Aerial poems, Journey of the Magi. Just look up all this. Will you?
Yes, ma'am.
So 4 quartets kahan gaya? 4 quartets. Macavity, the mystery cat. Don't take, once more take screenshot. I forgot to.
Ash Wednesday.
Definitely look up. I will ask you questions, okay, in the quiz. And who are his contemporaries? No, wait. These are only his poems. Now drama.
Oh my God.
Little bit only you should know. All these plays, I will give you one trick. All these plays, these 2 are religious. All the other 4 plays are about upper class people and their secrets. People, upper class people hiding something, you know. Now, did you take screenshot?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sleepometer. If anybody is sleeping, they wouldn't have taken.
No, not at all.
Look up these writers. I need one whole webinar to discuss these writers.
Wow. Graham Greene, Orwell,
Every one of these writers, look up and go. You will definitely get questions.
Virginia Woolf.
From today, I'm going to make questions based on all these people to give you. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
All the questions I make and everything that will be helpful for GATE, etc., will be in rapid fire battle. It is only 500 rupees with tremendous lot of material. It would be worthwhile for you to join it. Even if you don't join, just study on your own, no problem. I'm not saying you can't do anything without joining that. But if you can afford 500 rupees, it will be good to join. Because I'm putting my heart and soul, and my team also, we are making such good questions. It is tremendous practice. Please study all this. You will definitely get questions. You will pass this exam and you will tell me, ma'am, we passed because of all these writers we studied. We have become assistant professors, then vice chancellors, then education ministers. I don't know what all you'll become.
Let us face the exam first.
I am dreaming. It's not a pipe dream. It's going to be real.
Yes, sure, ma'am.
I believe in you, like you believed in me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
It is
Thank you.
not too late. Even if your years have been wasted, even if you have not really done much till now, it's okay. Now you begin. Did you see something? All these authors we saw are pretty old. Most of them are now 75 years old, 80 years old. People achieve things in the second part of their life. Very rarely people achieve in their 20s and 30s.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to be at least 40 to start being famous and achieve things. Study till then. Don't worry, you know, life is long and it brings you miracles. Life is full of challenges and struggles, but it can also bring you miracles. Please study, be sincere to your work, to your discipline, and use all opportunities and grow like a banyan tree.
Wow.
When the banyan tree is small, will anybody think it is going to be of any great, magnificent appearance? But when it is old, oh my God, what a tree, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Be banyan trees.
Thank you, ma'am, for motivation.
I believe in you. I'll give you the fertilizer. You have to grow. I don't do the growing. You have to grow.
Definitely.
I can
Thank
only
you,
give
ma'am.
the fertilizer. You're already growing. I can see banyan trees coming up. All of you.
Sure, ma'am.
All the very best. Look at this beautiful.
Thank you, ma'am.
night.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great.
Thank you very
So
much, ma'am.
happy to see that
Thank you, ma'am.
happiness.
I will
Thank
figure
you, ma'am.
you out. Don't worry. I will be, you know, shall I tell you something? I will be there teaching you and helping you, giving you whatever you want till you die. After you die, I will celebrate and retire.
my God.
That means I have like 90 years ahead. I will be 120 when I retire.
Wow. May God bless you, ma'am.
Even if he doesn't fulfill my wish, I don't mind. It doesn't stop me from wishing. Okay. Thank you very much. All the very best to you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Please share that handout.
Pleased that we could do it together. It was
Share that handout, ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
I will immediately work on the handout. It won't be complete, but it will definitely help you. So, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
And thank you. Because I'll keep on giving you useful material there. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.